Hello, welcome, folks, to a casual and an informal conversation about, I don't know, whatever. This is a whatever goes kind of hangout live stream. It is
Are we gonna
Saturday.
are we gonna talk about the Umbrella Academy? Did you watch that? Did you watch that?
Oh, and yeah, I gotta finish my intro.
Oh, sorry.
Dear Casey Kasem. No, it's Saturday, July 30th, 2022. That was important for whatever reason to say.
It's for posterity,
I've
for
not watched
posterity.
the Umbrella Academy. I did watch the first episode of the first season. And then when the
Okay.
new season came out, I said I'll try to watch the first episode of the third season. I'm like, it's too much I don't know about. So I was like, if I'm gonna go and watch it, I need to start from the beginning.
Let's start from the very beginning. A very good place to start. Where's Ruben? What's this guy's deal? He's watching
He's
the ants.
watching. He's watching Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. And
Are you hype about that? Let's talk about that actually, if you don't mind. Are you hype
well,
about it?
first off, we want to acknowledge Joel, who's in the chat here.
Yo, I was already chatting with Joel. Oh look, Steven. Steven's in the chat too. Nice to see you, Steven. What up?
Oh shoot! I didn't even think to send Father a link. I should do that. He probably won't come though. He's probably like, I'm above this. No, I'm joking.
That's not
So,
fathery. Oh, I see the fathery there now. I've been drinking already, PJ. So I'm a pretty.
I've been microdosing.
Oh, nice. Really? For real?
Yeah,
That's
just a little
cool.
bit. Just a little bit.
I
Nothing
would
to
like to
nothing to get me
experiment with
What are we talking about?
psilocybin.
Well, since we brought up Lord of the Rings, is
Yes, the
anybody
rings of
excited?
power.
Yes. The rings of power. I shall wield all the power with my rings.
I
My
thought I
pit.
was a Lord of the Rings slash Tolkien nerd, and then I came online, and I'm like, oh wow, all these people like can quote stuff from heart.
Well, the
It's
show
insane.
looks. The latest trailer makes. I mean, you can see the money. It's like one of those shows where, I see where the money went.
Show me the
And
money.
I'd be hard pressed to find anybody who's going to look at this, or at least the trailer, and say, "Oh, well, it looks cheap." I'm like, no, it does. It looks pretty goddamn
I'm
sleek.
convinced, based on hearing certain people's perception of the quality of the show, that they're streaming at a low quality and they have no idea, so they think that that's what the show looks like. But I think that's really how I feel like that's really how it is. They don't know good, like they don't know well enough to know that like oh they're not getting the full resolution. So they're
So this
like
takes
oh.
place about 6 months before The Hobbit, like a couple of days. It's like this happens and The Hobbit's next.
More like 6 months and 6,000 years.
Oh, so it's one of those prequels so far
it's
back.
it takes place. So Lord of the Rings that we know from The Hobbit to the Return of the King is in the Third Age, and so this will take place, I believe, in the Second Age. But
Age of what? Age of Adeline?
oh, of middle of like I think it's called Arda is the way that it's it's described.
I've
So
seen the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies. I just don't even.
yeah, the
Well,
myth stuff's not important to enjoy the films, but I've read the books enough times that I'm really into the myth stuff. And in fact I feel like it's like a really cool world. So I've actually spent a lot of time reading it about it. But anyways, it looks good. It looks like it's gonna, like what you said. It has there's a lot of love for Tolkien and also the films that Peter Jackson made. So it looks like Howard Shore is doing the main theme, and Bear McCreary. I don't know. Do you like his work? He did Battlestar Galactica. He's the composer for the show.
Brer McCreary. I don't know composers. I'm not really
Oh,
well
okay.
versed. Oh, I was gonna. There's a new thing on Disney Plus called Light and Magic. You ever heard of that?
Yes.
It's about industrial light and magic. It's a 6 part documentary. It pretty much only covers mostly just the Star Wars movies, and then toward the end it gets into like, oh, we did Jurassic Park and like going forward, whatever. But it's intricate, and you get to know like a lot more about Phil Tippett and these other guys. But Phil Tippett is like the star of it, I think. He talks about having bipolar and doing all that stop motion for Empire Strikes Back and stuff. All that time consuming kind of action probably saved his life.
Oh wow.
Uh,
I
but
didn't know that about Phil Tippett. That's interesting.
but just I've never seen a documentary about the people at ILM that was so in depth. So I would recommend anybody watch that. I don't want to say too much about what gets revealed. If you've seen anything about behind the scenes with Star Wars and anything with Industrial Light and Magic, like how they made the T-1000 and Terminator 2 and what that meant. It basically goes from Star Wars to the Abyss, the water creature in the Abyss in 1989, which was revolutionary. The water tentacle creature in James Cameron's The Abyss, which was a technological feat in its own, and the fact that that bled over into Terminator 2, which was more advanced, and then into Jurassic Park, where Phil Tippett actually was making the dinosaurs all stop motion.
Oh
And
yeah, that's right. Until they decided to. I knew that stuff from that show, Movie Magic. Did you ever watch that?
oh yes,
Yeah, there's a
that was
lot of
one of my
stories.
favorite shows growing
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Some of those
It
stories I remember hearing about him on Movie Magic. That's cool.
was the first show where I learned about how makeup was, prosthetics were applied to
Right.
people's faces. Like you had to take the mold of the person and then sculpt it on the, it's like, there's a bunch of episodes, but
Oh, that's
uh,
cool. I'm definitely gonna watch the Light and Magic show. I'm probably gonna watch it with my pals in Tallahassee. He's a filmmaker, and so I'm gonna go up there and watch that probably this next weekend. I'm excited about that. That's cool.
Tallahassee, is that in the United States somewhere?
It's the
I
unfortunate.
know.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I should. I should forget. It's. I'm so. What is that? Provincial. The Tallahassee is the capital of Florida. The unfortunate capital of Florida.
What's amazing? I never knew Tallahassee was the capital of Florida. Just
There
as a
you go. Now you
Canadian, like I
know.
just didn't know.
Well, I didn't know that. St. John was the. Oh, sorry. St. John's was the capital of.
North
Um,
America? No.
New Brunswick. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, all us Atlantic Canadians are the same.
Newfoundland. but um but yeah, so anyways, Tallahassee is the unfortunate capital of Florida, but that's where I'm gonna go there to visit a good friend, and I think he's been on my show before, but I don't know if you'll remember him, but um yeah,
You
that's
know
gonna be
who I
cool.
saw in the documentary, Light Magic? Someone who was actually on your After Dark show. Can you guess?
Let's see, was it the guy who's in the Mandalorian suit?
Brendan Wayne.
Brendan?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you see
exactly.
him for you see him for a second with Carl Weathers, and it's like,
That's awesome. Oh
oh,
my
we
gosh,
talked
did
to
you
that
see
guy.
the leaked trailer for the Mando 3, by the way?
I did. I
Oh
did
my
see it.
gosh, I'm like insanely excited now.
By the way, I think this is the last episode because it's only 6 parts. I want to see season 2 of this thing, but if it's like its own docuseries and that's how it ends where it does,
Hmm.
but there's so much more to be told.
There is so
I
much to
would
be
I would
told.
want a show about visual effects
Hey,
across
father.
the board. It doesn't necessarily mean
Father says send him a link.
I did.
Oh, you did. He did. All right, sorry, go on.
Uh, but yeah, they do get into the Mandalorian too, and the use of the volume and how that's revolutionized things, and yeah, so that's amazing. Oh, I loved it. I watched the first episode one night, and I just got hooked. I watched it all the way through yesterday.
Wow. Father says, PJ, what states would you guess these cities are in? Ready? Little Rock.
Arkansas,
Yes, good. Salt Lake City.
uh, Salt Lake City, New Jersey.
No.
No,
That's
I
great that
have
you
no
think that
idea.
though. It's Utah, Utah.
That's
Oh fuck!
that's
I'm
not
so
just
stupid.
PJ
I
though. That's
know.
like every Canadian. Like every Canadian
Oh,
doesn't know like
Father,
basic
this is a
U.S.
no
cities.
video. This is a
Oh,
no
you don't.
video
It doesn't
zone.
matter. It doesn't
Oh,
matter.
really?
Um,
Okay. I thought it was no.
I'm not. I didn't want to get dressed up. Put
That's
on
okay.
makeup or
Father
anything.
can be like
Oh. Well, if it
dressed up
helps,
for
I'm
all
not.
of us.
I may or may not be wearing anything from the waist down. It will
No,
remain a mystery.
that goes without saying.
All right, PJ, Charlotte.
Charlotte, Mississippi.
Good.
Is
And,
that right?
It could also
That
be
is
no.
incorrect.
Wait,
Char-
capitals.
Char-
Oh yeah. Oh no,
Char-
sorry. I know the capital. of
Charlotte,
Mississippi.
Tennessee.
I should know this. No, it's not Tennessee either. Damn it.
I know Memphis is Tennessee because my grandparents love that place.
On a beech tree in the yard, NC loved me.
Okay, I'm gonna look up Charlotte. But nobody's
Okay.
told me.
What about Oklahoma City?
Oklahoma.
Yeah. What about Kansas City?
Wait, what about Memphis?
Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
He knew that one.
He did. Okay, sorry, I didn't hear him.
What is Charlotte? I'm not looking this up. Okay, I'll go
North
look
Carolina, or is it
Yeah.
South Carolina?
I gave you no. It's North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina.
Isn't it? Wait, hold on. Hey Siri, hey Siri, which Carolina is Charlotte the capital of? Oh, sorry, audience, I didn't mute myself.
In what state is Springfield?
It's Mecklenburg County.
The big one is Illinois, but there's a lot of Springfields, I guess.
Should the Carolinas unify and become just Carolina?
No,
Why?
I mean, why would they?
Like, I think that's the next step for the United States is to like start combining states.
Did you know Texas has an arrangement with the United States where at any point in time, the state of Texas can decide to split into 5 different states?
Like, what would they be called?
Probably
know
like
them?
north, south, east, west, and central. But like Texas would get to divide wherever they wanted to divide it. So and the potential of that would be an introduction of 8 U.S. senators. And
By the
also
way,
like some Congress people. But I
Charlotte
mean, I guess
is
your
South
number of Congress
Carolina.
people wouldn't change much. But yeah, each state gets two senators. So just I don't think it'll ever happen, but something to think about.
Joel says North Virginia, and he's right. It's South Carolina. South Carolina is Charlotte. North Carolina is Raleigh.
Yeah.
Father and I didn't know our capitals anymore.
Well, I tried to switch to South, and then you talked me out of it.
I did. I used
You
to
led
know
me
them,
astray.
I used to know them because of the Animaniacs song. But
Do you know like all 50 states in alphabetical order?
no, but I can name all 50
I
states
memorized
in
that as a
geographical order. Like I can see them in my mind and name them all that way.
Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming.
Wow.
And those are types of cheeses.
Big Mac, McDLT, a quarter
They're,
pounder, cheese fillet,
they're
fish,
late
hamburger,
night-
cheeseburger, a Happy Meal, McNuggets, tasty golden fries, regular larger side salad, chef or gardener, chicken salad, oriental.
What?
That's the McDonald's
2 all
sauce.
beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
This has been fast food and geography.
What are we doing?
Ruben showed up and he's just like,
Yeah,
what?
Ruben
What
is
is
like,
this?
What the fuck?
Where am I?
Yeah, just
You're on
taking
Middle
notes
Earth.
from my book on my psychology book for later.
Y'all know like Tolkien like had the copyright for the word hobbit. That's why like no one else has like hobbits.
Oh, is
in
that
their
why they're doing
stories.
Harfoots?
That's why
But-
D&D has halflings.
He tried to copyright everything else. He wanted to own the copyright on like dragons, elves, like all kinds of shit. He couldn't get away with it. but
Every
he tried.
word in this book is copyright.
He's probably like, well, it never hurts to try.
Dang. He was denied, obviously.
You know, I think J.R.R. Tolkien would have hated Star Trek.
You think so?
Yeah.
Was he
noticed that.
alive when Star Trek aired? When did he die?
He was in World War One, so I think he didn't have the same sort of.
He's like a bunch of space hippies.
Yeah.
Well, mainly because he hated metaphor and he
I
hated
watched my
allegory.
best friend die when his face was shot off.
He was alive. He was alive in the 60s, but I don't know if he ever watched Star Trek.
Watch
but-
it. Joel says, Wisconsin. Wait, no, Wisconsin. Oh no, not Joel. That's William Shatner says that. I didn't read the whole thing. Sorry.
Well, William Shatner is also Canadian, so I wonder how many state capitals he knows, even though he lives in Kentucky most of the time.
Yes. I could die any moment. He was on. I watched
PJ, where is
the Kevin Smith panel? Did you see that one? I don't know. It was for some stupid company, but he like curses.
I haven't
and
watched
swears
it
at
yet.
the end.
I was meaning to go watch it online.
They were
I heard
having
it
a
was-
swear off.
Yeah.
Is that the controversial one where
It is.
William Shatner said basically that Gene Roddenberry would be like rolling in his space grave or something like that?
Well, his ashes were scattered in space. So I don't know what kind of grave he's rolling in, but yeah.
Like
Who
all
cares?
of
Who
space. He's
cares?
probably actually Gene Roddenberry's ashes are probably rotating actually constantly because
I
of
mean,
the-
we're all rotating.
Yeah, we're all rotating, so in a way, it's true. William Shatner wasn't wrong.
I'm always fascinated by how many people are so hooked or so obsessed with what a dead man thinks. Like somebody who's been dead for decades, and like Gene Roddenberry would think this and would think that. I'm like, people have been saying that for 30 years now. It's like, okay,
I like
we get it.
listen when
Gene
I listen
wouldn't like
when
things.
He didn't
I
like a lot of
listened-
things when he was alive.
Yeah.
I mean, he hated
He was
Star
a
Trek.
jovial man in some ways, but he had his fucking dark side.
Yeah, he hated Star Trek 2. He hated Star Trek 5. I mean, let's be real. Like, he hated Star Trek 6 so much that he died right after he yelled at Nicholas Meyer how much he hated the movie. Like,
Oh shit.
Same shit happened to me, bro.
Gene Roddenberry. I listen to those people who say stuff about Gene Roddenberry only if I know for a fact they knew him. Then I'll like kind of take heed of it. But otherwise, everyone else, it's like your opinion's no different than my opinion. Like we're just making stuff up about what we think Gene.
I mean, I saw a
Wouldn't
medium the
lie.
other day, and she contacted Roddenberry. and
Wait,
he loves
I'm gonna channel
disco.
Gene Roddenberry
He
right
loves
now.
disco.
Hold on.
yeah, he's also a big fan of a
Go
90
figure.
Day Fiance on Discovery
Yeah,
Plus.
real weird.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. The great bird of the galaxy is here for you. Hello.
Don't do
hello.
this. Don't.
This is
Yes.
sacrilege.
Why? Why can't I be the great bird? Ask me anything. AMA. Great bird is here. Ask me anything.
Squad.
How would I feel about something? Ask,
You know-
ask-
you know-
What do you think about For All Mankind? Huh?
it's a great show, except that I would never have.
It doesn't
I
have
would
enough.
never-
It doesn't have enough orgies in it, right?
Mm.
How'd you know I was gonna say that? You must be one of my
Because
Gene's
I-
Vision people.
I've
Are
I've
you a
also, I've
Gene's Vision
communicated
person?
with your
that-
spirit. the great
is
bird
that
of
what
the
you are?
galaxy.
Are you from that like little cult that formed, the Gene's Vision cult? I love that cult.
I'm
watch it every
the
day.
I'm the general secretary of that cult. Actually, to be honest,
Wait, I
see-
should change my picture. Hold on, I
we-
don't feel like this guy looks like me over
yeah.
here.
We also
on
have
this one.
Malcolm McDowell in the on the panel today. So
I tell you what, Gene would have thought about all of this. He wouldn't have cared because he would have been 120 years old.
I like how you said 20. 120.
And by the way, watch my new show, Son of a Critch. I play an old Newfoundlander, even though I still have my thick English accent. And it's not explained in the show why I'm British.
It's just like TNG.
okay, Malcolm. I'll be sure to check that out. Thank you.
I'm literally naked right now. I just wanted to show you for a second. No,
How
I'm-
hot is it
I don't-
up there?
It's not hot outside, and for some I don't know what's going on with the temperature. It's never been this consistently hot. It says it's like 14 degrees Celsius, but I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah,
I have
The
windows
climate
open,
change.
and yeah, it's weird. It's like not that where we are now. We haven't had this consistently hot weather in 80 years.
Wow.
So it's like unprecedented. Oh, I should speak like Malcolm McDowell, who's actually, I'm right here in Newfoundland now, filming season 2 of Son of a Critch. Which my cousin's going to be in, by the way.
Oh, really?
His
We have to
mother keeps
watch
trying
it,
to give him
like,
acting,
January.
like speaking roles and stuff, and he's like, "Oh no, talk." He's like really kind of weirdly stuck up about it. He's like, "I'm not talking on camera." He's like, "Okay, will you be an extra?" She's like, she's trying to get him into the business because they're filming stuff here. I see, like, I walked down the street not even 2 weeks ago, and I saw them filming it, and I looked. I'm like, "Ah, fuck, Malcolm McDowell's not there anywhere," but he's around. Like, I mean, I suppose
I'm
they
right
film.
behind you.
They film a lot of it on a set, I think, somewhere, and then they film the exteriors out around town. But like, it would be so cool just to fucking see him outdoor, because he did do a scene like
Out in the wild.
in the open in downtown. I wasn't there, and I'm like, fuck, I just would have loved to just been there and like seeing them film it.
I'm like Dowell in its element. Out in the wild.
Tell
Now
me
that I'm
everything you know
fully
about trilithium.
Now that I'm fully the great bird of the 4K galaxy, I can answer Joel's question. What is in Saru's pants, Gene?
Oh my god, you just reminded me of something.
I think Saru's penis has Gene Roddenberry's face tattooed on it.
I thought you were going to say it was barbed or something.
Like a cat.
Kelpian males don't have a penis. They have like a sort of a receptacle.
Jesus.
And
Oh
They
god.
just have an easy button.
Kelpian females have a nub
A
that they
nut.
insert into the male receptacle.
I don't like hearing this kind of talk.
They each have one testicle that just bang together. Eventually impregnates.
Actually, Kelpians don't make
Hey
it.
everybody, did you hear the story of where I farted in the woman's
Everyone
face and she
went-
didn't appreciate it?
Y'all are laughing at what the great bird of the Samsung Galaxy is saying, but if you go read his memos on what Ferengi dicks would be like,
Oh my God.
he
Are
did
you
They were
come
like
up with.
whips. Remember the Ferengi whips?
Wait, is that real? I
Go
gotta
read
find-
about the Ferengi. Gene Roddenberry had memos on the Ferengi penis. That is a
I imagine.
true
Remember
fact.
the Ferengi had the whips in the first episode where
Oh, sweet Jesus.
that's what I imagine their penises are like.
Is
They
this
model
what
those.
After Dark has become?
You know, anybody know who Michael Rosenbaum is?
Top
I
10
know
Star
him,
Trek
yeah.
alien penises? Go.
He's
Well, he
He's
has a
the,
podcast called Inside of You. Yeah, that's a
Oh
weird
yeah,
name.
it shows awesome.
yeah the Lex Luthor talking to
He
other
is
actors mostly.
He is a great interviewer, dude. Like his
really
podcast,
is.
like he talks to Robert Patrick, anybody, like there's a bunch Bob Odenkirk, and anyway, he had Doug Jones on. I'm like, yeah, you don't hear Doug Jones on I don't see him pop up at many places on podcasts.
Mm.
And fuck, man, he's so fascinating talking about like what he doesn't eat. Like he's talking about his health, like why he's been watching his cholesterol since he was a young man and all this, and talks about how he treats his body and all this stuff, and gets into all the contortionist stuff. And then Michael Rosenbaum's like, "So can you suck your own dick?" And he's like, "Listen, if I answer," he didn't answer. He didn't say yes or no either way. But like he's so cool about even like such an abruptly fucking sexual question. Like, he just like, "Can you so we've all tried. Have you done it?" He's like, "Oh, he definitely has. He's able to." He hinted that he could. But he talked about his career, like how he was the Moon Man in the McDonald's commercials that bought him his first house, and
I
talked
can only
about
latch on to the very tip and just kind of,
what
you know,
are you talking about? You talking about Kelpian sexual?
Can I share a clip with the viewers?
So my point was, Doug Jones can suck his own dick.
Oh, okay.
Listen to the Michael Rosenbaum podcast to find out more.
He can do what's known as autofellatio in Star Trek and space.
Joel is right. Inside of You is amazing, which is a weird thing to say to me, but okay. Thank you, I guess. I don't know.
What's this clip you're sharing?
Oh, wait, what is this? What is it, Father?
It's only a minute long. I think y'all will like it.
All right.
Michael, did you go
What?
check on Grandma? I heard she needed you the other day. Yeah, I stopped by there the other night. Okay, then how's she doing? I fucked shit out of her. Yeah, her blood pressure been hot in the bit. Yeah. What happened? I tried to knock the defibrillator off that bitch. Man, I ain't never, my meat ain't been like that in forever.
What the fuck? What? I bust on grandma.
I thought you said you was gonna make sure she was okay. I did, and she was fine. Then I crippled the bitch.
What the fuck?
That's your grandma too. I know, right, boy? Our kids gonna be stupid in a bit.
What?
You not worried? What about the police? Fuck them. You gonna pay for this? You must gonna do something. Bitch, I will give your ass rabbit brains. I can't let this slide. I can't let this shit slide, Mike. Well, you either gonna let it slide or I'm gonna slide your ass
Will I
in
get
the
a
hole.
copyright for this?
I mean, shit,
No.
it ain't many options. I'm gonna get a gun and I'm gonna catch the
Oh
bullet
my god.
with the tip of my fucking meat.
What the fuck?
That was wild. Father,
Well,
was-
viewer discretion is
that's
advised, I guess.
that's Gene's vision. That's
This show is
100% Gene's
rated
vision.
NC-17.
I mean, as the great 4K bird of the as the great Samsung Galaxy, I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna change it to that.
What podcasts do you guys listen to? Like famous kind of podcasts.
I listen to Jake and Amir. It's a HeadGum production.
What is that a real thing, or are you just making it up?
No, that's a real thing. I also listen to Seth Godin's podcast called Akimbo.
I said famous people.
These are famous people. These
Not
are super
obscure
famous
weirdos.
people. All right, fine.
Oh,
I listen
I'm
to
sorry, I'm sorry.
Investigates.
I apologize. Who was the last- what was the
I-
name of the last guy you just said? I want to look him up.
Seth Godin.
Seth Godin.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I also listen to Investigates, Gates McFadden's podcast. I
Who's
listen
whistling? Stop
to
it.
I listen to the
I gotta look at.
the Pod Directive, which is the official podcast for Star Trek, hosted by Tawny Newsom and Philip F. Tompkins.
Paul F. Tompkins.
Paul.
Yeah, Paul, not fucking Philip.
Paul
God
F.
damn.
Damn it.
God
Paul F.
damn, Gene.
Tompkins
Go have
is
another
kind
stroke.
of a podcast whore. You see him pop up in a lot of places. Paul
Listen,
F. Tompkins. I don't
Technically,
know why.
I listen to all the famous podcasts here in the great galaxy, in the
This is
4K galaxy.
Sheppy McSchlongler.
Well, I listen to a lot of good ones, like Conan Needs a Friend. Fucking love that one.
Oh, I haven't even.
I
heard
love
of
Conan. I've Conan O'Brien.
Me too.
Been a fan for, Jesus, almost like 29 years. I've been a fan of him. I was a fan of him when nobody knew who the hell. Like, you'd mention him, like, no, I don't know who Conan O'Brien. No, I have no idea. So for so long, like, it seemed like nobody knew who the fuck he was. But his podcast is so good. Like, it's great.
This is
another
not a
one-
famous person, but on Mondays I listen to Text Trek, especially if I was on, because I like to hear it and see how Father edited it.
I've never heard of
Do you,
these.
do you
this
notice
text
anything
track.
different?
Sometimes, yeah, it's cleaner, it's different, and like, yeah, it's good. It's a different. It tailors to the audio. You work hard on your shit. I would never do that. I just put the same shit out on both.
We're so proud of your podcast.
Yes. But that one's not famous. Who else do I listen? Oh, I listen to William
It's getting
Shatner's
famous. It's getting up
podcast.
there.
William
Terry
Shatner's
Metalis
podcast
is at least
great.
listening to it.
Yeah, actually.
Rod Roddenberry told me that he would listen. I don't know if he ever did, but he pulled out his iPhone and he said, "This is you, Text Trek, right?" And he like clicked the subscribe thing and he says, "Okay, I will listen." But I don't
Right
know.
on.
Then he immediately unsubscribed when he walked away.
Yeah, or he's so fucking rich, he just like immediately like walked to the nearest trash can and just dropped his phone in there, and it's like, I'll just go buy another one.
Oh my god. Oh, that's good.
I got
No,
that
no, no,
sweet,
I'm-
sweet Star Trek money from my mom and dad, bitch.
I actually wouldn't doubt that a lot of the people in the business are checking out the good ones like Text Trek and Trek Yards and all that.
I don't know if it's us, but they are they're listening.
Oh,
they're
Starfleet Boy,
watching.
of course. I meant to say. Sorry.
Yeah, right. I do know that they're checking out Trek Central because we were told we were being checked out when we were on there. so.
Can you
Oh, yeah.
tell Jack to say Terry Metalis? You
And
just
not
tell
Matalis.
Oh, he says
There's a lot of
Nautilus?
Dan Murrell did a review of Picard season 2 today that I watched, and he kept every time he brought up, he said Metalis like a bunch of times. No, but he said Matalis. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, Jack is a really cool dude, and I like the work that he's done. I'm very impressed with the.
It's
the
a British
career.
way of saying it, I think.
But-
you know what I mean?
But he says shit wrong all the fucking time.
He does?
Yeah, like Ichea, he messed that up.
Oh, wow.
Dan Murrell was calling Isa Briones Isa Briones.
Isa.
Hey, man, it's
Isa.
hard. It's hard. I
If
have
you're not,
to,
yeah,
like,
if you're not familiar with Spanish,
like, I still can't say Babs' last name. I still can't get it. And so I just don't say-
Olusumankun.
Thank you. You do it
who
perfect.
here can say Alexander Sadig's name?
Alexander Sadig.
And
That
it's
ain't his
not
full
even
name though.
Oh,
It's
okay.
El Fadil. It's El Sadig Fadil is his
El Sadig.
actual name.
Oh, shit.
Alexander
I'm gonna
Sadig
look it up
Fadil.
and I'm gonna put it in the private chat, and we'll
Yeah.
take turns seeing who can say it the best, because it's one of those.
Olatunde Osusamni is another name that people can't
Yeah,
say.
There's a lot of hard names.
Tunde.
So
I
yes,
I like names I haven't heard quite before, and that have like a lot of syllables.
oh my gosh, his memo about the Ferengi was written on my birthday, 5/11/1987. Can I read this?
Yes, go ahead.
You have to read it as the Great Bird.
The Ferengi are fine-boned, small, olive-complected, and completely hairless. Their ears protrude at right angles to their faces. They are not as strong as humans, but they are somewhat faster than the fastest human. The slowest of them could easily outdraw Wyatt Earp, although they try to move slowly with humans and other creatures. I kind of like that concept of like, oh, it's okay. They are still characterized by quick darting movements which give them the look of being on speed. They have the look of being on speed. Gene Roddenberry probably knew what it was like to be on speed. Sorry, I knew what it was
Every
like
time
to
we
be on
Every time
speed.
we would do speed, he's like, I'm a Ferengi. People are like, oh, fuck, here
That's
we
a
go
good
again. Who
cue.
gave Gene speed?
That's a really good cue for actors. Now I can see why they were playing it the way they were.
Gene's doing the Ferengi again.
They have poor eyesight and require brilliant lighting. Their hearing, however, is exceptionally sensitive. They also have prodigious sexual appetites, and it is said their genitals are of a shape and dimension that Earth women have found as enjoyable as their sexual techniques. We'll meet no Ferengi females.
One testicle
because
hangs slightly lower than the other.
And to the right.
And to the
we
right.
will meet
One
no
star to the
Ferengi
right.
females because they consider sexual equality another example of human lunacy. There you have it. The penis of a Ferengi is of a shape that is very pleasing to human woman.
There you
Interesting.
have it. The Great Bird of the galaxy. Gene's vision, straight
Well,
from the
and-
horse's mouth.
Let's look at Alex's name. Oh my god, that's not his full name, is it?
That
Is
is
that for real?
that is his
Let me go
actual fucking name.
Hold on.
Sadig El Tahir El Fadil El Sadig Abdur. Oh god.
Abdurrahman, I think.
Abdurman Muhammad Ahmed Abdel Karim El Mahdi.
Wow, that's awesome. It's like a royal name. Okay, so Siddig El Tahir El Fadil El Siddig Abdurrahman Muhammad Ahmed Abdel Karim El Madil.
And someone has just been kissed by a rose in a grave. I don't know why I said that. But another podcast that is really good is Fly on the Wall with Dana Carvey and goddamn David Spade. David Spade is so full of shit. You ever hear David Spade tell stories? I'm like, he's fudging a lot of things, and sometimes it'll turn out like, that didn't happen. But Dana Carvey, I love him. There's another podcast. Let me just tell you. It's called Smartless with Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and who's that like deep voice dude from Will Arnett, yeah. They have a lot of good guests. What the Fuck with Mark Maron. There's a new podcast with Quentin Tarantino and his buddy that they talk about like old obscure movies. Yeah, I don't know why I went into that. I just wanted to get all my podcast recommendations out there. So nobody listens to any of those. Nobody's ever heard of Fly in the Wall, which is like hugely popular.
I think I've
It
heard of
just
some
goes
of them, but I don't listen.
Yeah.
I only listen to Star Trek and some comic book podcasts, and that's about it.
I don't think I listen to any podcasts with like celebrities.
I added recently positively, not recently, pretty recently, like a year ago. Positively
Bruce
Track.
and Dan, they're great.
I have been on The Janeway, which is a fun podcast. We just did the Tuvix episode, and we did. Speaking of describing genitalia, if you listen to that, you'll hear me describe what
I'm gonna lay off the
what
genitalia talk for a
Tuvix's
bit.
genitalia is like.
Well, y'all have seen that picture of Neelix's? Well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't bring.
I
this
haven't
up.
seen it.
God,
Where is
what?
that? Now I have to look that up. What?
Oh, where he's in like no, wait, no. He's in bondage or something? Is that what you're talking about? Or is that Phlox?
I just typed Neelix penis into Google, and I got It's trying to correct me into Netflix penis.
God, I gotta do everything.
Can we not?
All right.
Let's not spend the
wanna see
whole
his
time talking
penis.
about Star Trek ding dongs. It's supposed to be not about Trek. Oh, I got a good one. What about that House of Dragon? Anybody interested in the House of Dragon?
Yeah, when does it actually start though?
House of
Very
the Dragon.
soon.
I'm down. I don't know anything about it, so I'm excited.
It's all like every one of these shows are the same. It's like
I can't do this anymore. No,
I will
no.
have the throne. No, I will have the throne. Fight.
Do you know
There you go.
the
That's the show.
story?
Dragons plus dragons.
The dance of the dragons was an event in Targaryen history that resulted in the extinction of the dragons. But it was
you
like a
think the show
Targaryen
would-
civil war.
Well, that's what the show is about, right? Like,
Yeah.
like the ending would be that.
There's basically a king dies, and then there's a dispute over who the next king would be. This girl says like, "Well, I'm next in line," and then like her cousin or uncle or someone is like, "Well, it should go to me because you're a girl," and then they fight each other with their dragons, and they have a war, and in the end, like all their dragons are wiped out. But
How involved is what's his face? The author.
it's based on stuff he wrote, George R.R.
Oh.
Martin.
George.
And he actually finished this book. So
Has he ever finished? He still hasn't finished with the last book, even though we know how it ends, kind of, I guess.
Well, we know
Well-
he finishes all his meals. Oh.
That's so savage.
I don't know what I'm saying. I'm overweight, but anyway, I'm allowed then, I guess. I'm fat, so I'm
Matt
allowed.
Smith, I'm excited about it for Matt Smith too.
Matt Smith is I haven't seen him in a lot. I don't watch Doctor Who. I saw him in The Crown. I was like, yeah, he's all right. Is Prince Philip? I think he was. Oh yeah, Prince Philip. The
Did you
Queen's
guys
husband.
hear about the thing today?
What
the
thing? Oh, Will
hashtag?
Smith.
No,
The hashtag. We need a
Prince
little bit
Will-
more.
with Prince pegging Prince. Prince William was accused of being in an extramarital affair.
Oh, who cares?
They
They can fuck whoever they want. Like I give a shit.
Dang.
Goddamn royal fucking douchebags. I'm taking the Robbie stance on this. Fuck them. Entitled.
Wait, is the movie Morbius actually somewhere where I could watch it?
the whole
It's-
point of
it's
Morbius,
streaming? I mean, you can rent it. Yeah.
the whole point of it is to not watch it though, and just like keep telling Sony that they need to re-release it in theaters. Somebody tweeted the coolest part of Morbius is when Morbius said it's Morbin time, and then he morbed all over those guys. And that tweet
Is that a
got so
real
much-
thing?
Yeah, somebody no, someone just made
Did
that
that
up
happen
to
in
be
the movie? I'm
stupid.
saying. Okay, never mind. Okay.
Oh, does it? I thought
I don't
think
know
someone-
because I heard Morbin Time in this thing where they're making
Yeah.
fun of it and everywhere. I'm like,
yeah, someone
what
just
is
made
that?
this tweet up, and it got people kept resharing it, and it was trending. And then Sony was like, "Oh my god, our movie that bombed is trending. We should re-release it in theaters." And then no one went to go see it.
Oh my god, that like what were they thinking? They're like, oh, everybody's making fun of this movie that nobody's gonna pay to see. Let's put it out there again.
We should make up stuff about Star Trek to make it even more popular than it is. Oh,
Can we talk about nothing but Marvel and all the popular stuff? No, I'm joking.
Oh, I'm down to talk about all the Marvel things and
Well-
all the other SDCC stuff other than Star Trek.
I thought you were gonna say STDs.
No, SDCC. I'm trying hard to talk.
I just want to mention there's a Predator movie that's like flying under the radar, and they're saying it's the best one since the original. I'm like,
I wasn't impressed by the trailer though.
yeah, apparently they're not really showing anything.
It
The premise of
sounds cool.
the premise of the movie is that the Predator fucks with some people, and he's outmatched. He's like, oh, these people know how to fuck with me, and
Okay.
they hunt him down, him or they or whatever they are, and they
Is this the one that takes place like a Native American?
yeah.
Is it Pocahontas
It-
versus the Predator? Because that's what I want to see. Disney's Pocahontas versus the Predator.
They own both, so it could
It's
happen.
true.
If you paint with all the colors of the blood,
If you paint with all the lasers and
Harley
the
Quinn
wind.
came back, the season 3 of that
I-
animated show.
I watched the first episode. Of
I haven't
season
seen
3.
it yet. How is it?
Well, there's some cunnilingus and there's some queen kidnapping. And there's some invisible jet. I don't want to spoil it. It just sound like Trump listing off things. Invisible jet. There's cunnilingus. Lots of that. By the way, he's gonna be our president again. Anywho,
Wow.
He's actually like tanking in his polls lately.
Thank
He's,
gosh.
well, I don't know
I'm
how
taking in the
thankful.
polls. I'm doing fantastic.
I don't know how thankful we should be because it's DeSantis is looking like he might be
Oh no.
the heir apparent now.
It's crazy. Santa Claus himself running for
That's the
president.
Florida man. DeSantis.
I know nothing about this stuff.
DeSantis, which is what is that called when like a word's the same letters, but it's all mixed around?
Santa Ana.
Anagram, right?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
Satan? DeSantis? No, never mind.
No.
Anybody ever watch Beavis and Butthead?
I watched the new one. The Beavis and Butthead do the universe. It was
The white privilege scene is getting a lot of attention.
that was hilarious.
Tig Notaro is like, now boys, I'm sure your dad is very powerful and getting fired. And they're like, oh, our dads are powerful? I thought he died of syphilis.
Yeah. Then they're like roaming around doing whatever they want because they're like, yeah, we just found out we have white privilege. Our dads are powerful. You better watch out. You know that where they were, the quad, that's like Texas State University looks just like that. That's like right down I-35 from me.
Well, the show or it takes place in the fictional town of Arlington, is it?
No,
Or
that's
is that
King of the
King-
Hill.
no, that's King of the Hill.
Beavis and Butthead is
Highland.
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 Yeah, that's also made up.
Well, the show, in addition to that movie and more movies apparently coming in the future, the show is coming back in a week. I think August 4th, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, all new episodes. They had a full trailer, and you realize that it's timeless. Like I watched I got Paramount Plus, and for whatever reason, there's seasons 4 through 8 on there, but they're random ass episodes. Like a lot of them aren't available. Like
I can tell you why.
why.
Mike Judge only wants some episodes available. He's basically embarrassed of a bunch of those episodes. They were never released on the DVD box sets, and they're not in reruns anywhere. So it's actually it's like there's lost episodes. It's like hard to see a lot of them.
No, you can purchase a lot of things that you can't see on their own. I'm not doing that. But the episodes I did watch are there. I mean, because I used to record every episode of Beavis and Butthead, so I know them every single episode. So I know like, oh, this one I wanted to see is missing, and that one. But it's the whole concept of this new show is that they are not in 1998. They're the same teenagers, but because of the movie, they were transported to 2022.
Right. There's some time travel involved,
and they're back in the same house, just with an HD TV instead of now they're commenting on TikTok videos and shit like that, right?
Damn. Yeah, that kind of writes itself, doesn't it?
There's an actual preview scene of a dumpster fire is giving Beavis commands, but it's like to do good things like exercise and recycle. And he's like, this fire isn't so cool after all. And he puts it out. But in between, they're commenting on a TikTok video of a guy, how to make prison ink. Like, how to make tattoo ink in prison. And it's like a homemade version of just the way they're making fun of this guy is, I can't even describe it. But they're funny. They're still funny, and it's so stupid though. It really is just like the lowest brow humor.
Yeah, that sounds good though. Like the part of the humor from that in the 90s was that if you watched a lot of MTV, you would see the same music videos over and over again. Yeah. And then for whatever reason, it would just, whenever you started to get bored of those music videos, that's when you would see like Beavis and Butthead making fun of it. And I don't know, it would just kind of make it interesting again.
There's one music video in the older show. It's PJ Harvey's Little Fish, Big Fish. I don't know if you know that song. PJ Harvey is a really skinny, dark-haired woman with like a big head and big mouth. Beautiful, like, not saying like she's ugly or anything, but she has a song called Big Little Fish, Big Fish Swimming in, and she whispers in it. And anyway, at first they think she's like kind of hot or whatever, and then Beavis starts getting scared of her whispering and like starts freaking him out, and he's like, she's whispered again. I'm like, I get it. It is a creepy video. But what I love that they used to comment on videos that I was familiar with, like a lot of them very obscure too, like you'll never see again, like Henry Rollins and shit.
Oh yeah, like they did the liar song.
Liar.
Yeah, they're like, lying is awesome. This kicks ass.
Ruben, did you ever watch Beavis Butthead? No, probably not.
Very little.
Oh. Well, okay.
Well, that's about it.
No, to be fair, I don't know many people have seen it. Like I used to try to like my friends, and they're like, "No, I don't. No, I'm not interested." I'm like, "Why not? It's fucking vulgar."
I actively poo-pooed it. I was actively like,
this is like. When it came on, I would leave it on, but I wouldn't like actively try to watch it.
I would say things like, "This is going to lead to the downfall of America." I'm not even joking. I would actually say stuff.
Well, the whole point of the characters was Mike Judge making fun of the younger generation.
Yeah, but I felt
him.
like when I saw the reaction to it and how people were instead just emulating it, I was like, oh, no one's understanding the satire at all. They're just like wanting to be Beavis and Butthead. And I thought, okay,
no,
it's over.
That's
it's over. Life was over.
There was some controversy about a fire that some kid started, and it turned out the kid never even watched the show. The mother just used it as a scapegoat for her shitty parenting.
Well, they put that disclaimer on the front of it where it's like, Beavis and Butthead are, a couple of morons, and the stuff they do on the show should never be attempted by anyone.
Yeah. It's like the jackass stuff. Like there's a whole trend of people doing jackass things and getting hurt. It's like, well, if you were raised to be a fucking idiot, it's inevitable. You're gonna look at some stunt and then try to do it yourself. That's just you risking your life and limb for no money. Basically, you're just doing it because was it a TV show?
Both of those shows, Jackass and Beavis and Butthead. The other thing that was, I think, my problem at the time was that I was like I was basically a teetotaler. I didn't drink alcohol. I was straight edge. I didn't drink. I was like super straight edge. And every time I would be in a setting where Beavis and Butthead or Jackass was on, like there was massive amounts of marijuana being smoked. Now I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. But back then, I just associated it with that kind of.
And your past self would be so disappointed with you.
No, actually,
Like-
I would. I would kick my past self's ass a little bit and be like, just try it. Try it.
Really? I think my past self would beat the shit out of me. Like, I was in a lot better shape back in the day, so
Oh,
I think my
10
past
years
self-
ago could kick my ass right now.
Yeah, same. Past self could kick future me.
I would have a heart attack if
present
I tried to
self.
fight myself 10 years ago. I'd be like, ah, just kill me.
Well, also because of the fact that you'll be meeting yourself and potentially creating a rip in the space-time continuum.
Like the end of Time Cop, where the guy touches himself and he's like, blah, blah,
What
blah,
was
of
that
myself
movie that
now.
was so good where Jet Li kept getting more powerful by killing
the one
other...
or one.
Yeah, it's like that actually.
There's one of those. There's kind of like a slew of Matrix clones that came out like right after the Matrix. That was one of them.
Was the
That's
other
a fun
one
movie though?
Was another one that movie with Christian Bale where he had the gun kata? What was that called?
Equilibrium.
Equilibrium. Yeah, I like that movie.
There's also a Bulletproof Monk.
Underworld.
Underworld with Kate
Matrix with
Beckinsale.
vampires.
Yeah,
Only
I
saw
saw
that
it. I
first
saw it in
Underworld.
theaters. I saw it in theaters.
I didn't
and
like it. I never went back to that series after
I
that.
saw the first
one.
two. I went with a friend who loved them, and I was like, "I'll go with you," but I think they're okay. Then I actually liked the third one, which I saw on
Huh.
video. The one with the Lycans, the prequel, I think it was. The one with
Yeah.
the girl
Yeah.
from Hollow Man. That's all I know. She's not a very popular actress, but
Mm.
she's very beautiful.
Yeah,
You're
MTV was
beautiful,
cool back
it's
in the
true. What? Say again?
MTV was pretty cool back in the day. You know, you had music videos, you had Beavis and Butthead. A lot of the animated stuff, like I liked Aeon Flux,
that
the
was
Max, MTV Oddities, all that shit was lit.
What was that weird cartoon? It was the Nemesis, was it? It was a really fucking weirdly drawn, like very almost like it looked very comic booky. I think it was called Nemesis.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that.
But yeah, I
either.
remember Eon Flux, like the animation was like far out. Never seen anything like it. Remember the Kill Bill? Not the Kill Bill, the Animatrix.
Oh, yeah.
Why am I thinking
That was
Kill Bill?
good.
Because the same kind of animation in one of them.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
fascinating, and they don't do that like stuff like that. There was also a Batman thing, Gotham
Yeah,
Knights.
Gotham
Remember
Knights. Yeah, I bought both those on DVD back in the days. I actually got them both on Blu-ray now. So yeah, I bought both those things twice. Many years ago.
Anybody watching? Oh my god, I just blanked.
Are you gonna
Barry,
watch
Barry,
that?
Barry on HBO. Jesus Christ, I was thinking Bill Hader,
I
Bill
don't
Hader
know.
show, Bill Hader show.
I heard
Henry
it's really
Winkler.
good.
It is fucking one of the best, most like well directed and well written series. Now I got to admit, in the third season, no spoilers, but it does get into this territory of if you ever see a movie being filmed within a movie or a show with a scene in it where a movie is being filmed, it's never realistic. It's always like action, and then it happens, and then there's not coverage, and there's not pausing, and there's not like
Mhm.
usually it's like say the lines cut, and then like again the same fucking they say speed and they say a whole bunch of stuff. I've never seen in anything them film a scene realistically in a
Like
movie.
Mortal
It's always
Kombat?
action and go, and everything just happens.
In Mortal Kombat, the 95 Mortal Kombat, you see that entire fight sequence that Johnny Cage is in. It's like, yeah, they would never shoot that as like one long take. That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
But for anybody who doesn't know it, I won't spoil anything. It's about an assassin who he goes to acting school, and he develops a friendship with Henry Winkler, who's his acting teacher, who turns out to be one of the biggest pieces of shit in Hollywood. You gradually find this out, but
Mm.
it's just so well directed. The last season is just what a step up. Like each season is a step up from the last. I don't know. What did you think of did you watch the last season, Ruben, of Barry?
Last season of what? Barry?
Barry? Yeah.
Yeah, Barry's awesome. It's an amazing show.
Do you agree it gets better and better as it goes?
Yeah, I actually thought season 2 was a little weaker than 1, but I like 3 more than 2.
There's some.
I think 3 went to a whole new level that I really love.
It's a dark comedy that gets into some very dark, like uncomfortable, like I don't want to watch this part anymore. It's like fuck. Especially the finale of the. I can't get it. I don't want to spoil anything, but man, it is a show definitely worth checking out. It flies under the radar. I think people don't acknowledge it enough. But Henry Winkler, it's his like career defining role. Like you will not think of Henry as
Really?
Henry Winkler as Fonz, like Fonzie, whatever. It's this guy, this acting
I
teacher.
think his career-defining role is going to be as the principal in Scream.
Oh yeah, that was a good role.
What about in Little Nicky when he got stung by a bunch of bees?
I don't remember that.
Yeah. It was before.
Little Nicky, the one where he talks like this? It's like, yeah, Harvey Keitel is the devil.
Yeah,
I remember that.
that he had to use a magic orb that Ozzy Osbourne came out of.
Isn't Rodney Dangerfield in that too?
Yeah, he was the devil's dad, and he and the Adam Sandler's evil Welsh brother is played by the guy who played the lizard in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie.
I can't pronounce his name. I know who you're talking about. Ephers.
I don't know. It's a very Welsh looking name.
Yeah.
But you know what they say about Welsh people.
No, I don't. What do they say?
I figure somebody says something. I don't know either though.
Nobody saw Lightyear because that's coming to Disney.
I did.
Plus.
I liked it. This is a good little action adventure movie. The action was really I always felt like the stakes. It's kind of suspenseful. The characters were fun. Good animation. Thought it was a neat movie.
Nobody watches Better Call Saul, right?
No, I ain't watched that since 2015.
I would recommend you just wait the couple of weeks for the show to be done, because you could just go right into bit. If you haven't seen Breaking Bad, say.
I have seen Breaking Bad, but I do plan to watch Better Call Saul at some point.
It's a little jarring though, because if you watch Better Call Saul and then went into Breaking Bad, all of a sudden people are like 15 years younger. Like a bunch of characters that survived Better Call Saul will show up in Breaking Bad are just younger looking. And then when you get to the end of Breaking Bad, it leads into El Camino. And there's a certain character who picks up right at the end of Breaking Bad who's in El Camino, who's like 50 pounds heavier. So it's supposed to be like the next day and he's gained all that. It's just, I don't know. It's like,
Yeah.
It's weird because the show Breaking Bad it's like from 2008 to 2013. So 5 years.
I think it takes place.
It only covers a year and a half. Or
Right,
2
right,
years.
yeah. It's like a condensed time period. I always wondered. I never tried to go in there and look for mistakes, but I always wonder if you went and looked, would you see oh wait, that version of the iPhone didn't exist in that year? Would you be able to
talk about in the finale of Breaking Bad? I think it's one of the last episodes. No spoilers for anything, but what a character talks about Bin Laden's assassination. And it's like, technically that didn't happen yet because you're still in the year 2008 or 2009.
Oh, yeah.
Headbangers Ball and Liquid Television were everything in high school for me.
Yeah.
I have no idea
It was
what any of that is.
MTV.
Yeah, Liquid Television is where Eon Flux was shown and stuff like that.
We had Much Music, so Canada didn't have MTV for the longest time. In fact, Much Music was the solution to not having MTV. And Weird Al used to come and do a thing every year where he would go to Much Music and host for the day, and it would be like an ego fest. He'd be like, "Well, I'm just gonna play all my videos," and it was just all of the videos he had out until then, plus these edited interviews with Paul McCartney and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. They're pretty funny, actually.
I was always confused if that was an MTV thing that aired on Much Music, but like no, he was actually there in the studio. He loved being in like that place, which I visited a bunch of times when I was in Toronto. It's weird to see something you saw as a kid, like grew up watching as a kid, and then you see the actual place. You're like in there, and it's like so fucking small, and like it ain't shit, and you're like, oh, this is not in my mind. Like Silverchair was here, and Bush and fucking Soundgarden were here playing, and it's like you're there, and it's like this is nothing. I did see. Anybody know George Strompolopoulos? I met him. Suk-Yin Lee. She was in that fucking movie Short Bus. I know Starfleet Boy would know. He's seen that movie. I was friends with her briefly.
I did love Short Bus. It's a crazy movie. There's no I believe if I'm not
You
mistaken,
actually see Suk-Yin Lee getting like
no, but it's like none of the sex is simulated in the film.
I-
All of it's like unsimulated. It's very
that's what I'm saying. Like she's this it goes right into a scene with her. I'm like, it's so weird. I've talked to this person, not like actual friends, but like I've talked to her enough. When I was down, like she's so sociable. Like she's one of those people, and I think she probably liked me, but I was probably too young. But and then to see her in the movie, I'm like, this is like a porno. But now that's nothing nowadays. Like half the fucking people are like, I got fucking OnlyFans. It's like, what?
By the way, the great bird of the
You
4K
have OnlyFans?
Galaxy has an OnlyFans. Where
it's called
Ferengi,
the Great Bird. The Great Dicky Bird. No, that's
where I
not
read
good.
Ferengi slash fiction.
Cool.
I think that's
Well-
actually a good idea.
Well,
Well,
how about that San Diego Comic Con?
Wakanda Forever? Anybody see that trailer?
I
Yes.
saw the trailer for it. Namor, the Submariner.
Woman, no cry.
Marvel's
looks
first
fucking good.
character.
It is the best looking Marvel thing, just like the cinematography and the lighting,
It looks beautiful.
and it's the most beautiful looking movie. And here's the thing about that trailer that nobody seems to be fucking picking up on. Angela Bassett is like, my whole family's gone. Now people are like making fun, like, oh, well, you forgot about Shuri. I'm like, why would she fucking say my whole family's gone? Like I've given everything and they're all gone if Shuri doesn't die in the movie. And the theory is that she is Black Panther. But there are actually two people who take up the mantle. One, it begins with mourning of the what was Chadwick Boseman's character's name?
T'Challa.
T'Challa. The mourning of his character, he's passed off screen, and then something happens, and it's all like Submariner. What is it? Not Submariner. Is it Namor?
Both. It's
Namor the
is
Submariner.
is
Okay.
his yeah, you got it.
But they're not calling it Atlantis. They're calling it the other things that separated from the DC universe.
They don't want to be
Yeah.
too similar to Aquaman.
Yeah. So
Smart
I
move.
guess he's the villain. I suppose.
He's
But
kind of
sure-
an anti-hero in the comics.
Okay.
He can go either way.
So
I
they
think the Namor people like flooded Wakanda once in the comics.
recently.
that's in the trailer. There's a flood where
Oh, is it? Oh,
village
okay.
people in the village or somewhere, the water's coming in, rushing in, or something like that.
Oh, so
That's not
maybe
very nice.
And then
Yeah.
Shuri. By the way, the underwater stuff in the Wakanda trailer looks just as good, if not better, than fucking Avatar 2. Man, like I think Ryan Coogler. If I was Ryan Coogler, I'd be proud of what I did with Black Panther, obviously. But I'd be cringing at some of the CG in that movie because and it's not his. It's scheduling too. It's like I don't even blame these effects artists anymore because I hear about overworked and underpaid.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that needed some work at the end with the rhinos and stuff like that. It was like,
They
it's
had
cartoony as hell.
Infinity War in production at the same
Exactly.
time.
Yeah. But the CG and at least what they've shown is like, it's like very precise and fucking just pristine. And every shot of that trailer is you could put it as a poster on your wall or something. It looks so good. But I think Shuri, dies, and who takes it up next? Because if you think about it, of all the warriors in the family or in the kingdom or whatever, she's the least qualified. People would say, "Oh, she invented the suit; she would know." But like, I'm talking about battle trained. The other ladies in the film are much more likely to pick it up, I think, after she goes. Otherwise, why would Angela Bassett be there saying, "I have nobody now; they're all gone"? It's like, well, obviously that's hinting at Shuri's not going to make it. Once they found out she was talking about anti-vax stuff, they're like, "Oh, well, it's it, Shuri. You're done for."
Yeah, Disney's like, oh, if you hurt our PR,
I'm joking, by the way.
we will fire you. And no, I think that actually might be there might be some truth to that. You know, they got rid of Cara Dune on Mandalorian for being transphobic.
So what's with the people saying recast T'Challa even after the trailers come out? It's like, but the movie's been filmed though, and a big plot point in the movie is the acknowledgement that T'Challa had passed somehow.
Sure,
So
that wasn't the original.
Why are you
premise, though.
recasting? Yeah, it
I
wasn't.
think
I
people
know.
just
I know.
they wanted more T'Challa. I get that. You know, he was a character. He's existed before Chadwick Boseman was even alive, probably, or around. He would have been like a baby in the '60s when they invented T'Challa in the comics. So I think it's possible for other actors. You know, we've had recastings in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before, so I can think of two off the top of my head. No, three.
Just to get off the Marvel thing for a second, are you a fan of the View Askew universe, the Kevin Smith? Basically any movie with Jay and Silent Bob in it.
I like Kevin Smith. When you were talking about podcasts earlier, I was going to say that I don't keep up with it much anymore, but I used to listen to Fat Man Beyond, especially back when it was Fat Man on Batman. All the comic book creators he interviewed. Yeah. I loved listening to that. But yeah, I like his movies, even some of like the newer, stupider ones.
I forgot to mention his too, because Hollywood Babylon and Fat Man on Batman, or Fat Man Beyond as it is now with Mark Bernardin, is something like I never miss. Like I always watch it from beginning to end. I don't know what it is about Kevin Smith. I can listen to him fucking ramble, and he loves to just. You ever see him in an interview? He was on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast 2 years ago or something, talking about his hard sack. Michael Rosenbaum barely said a word the whole time. It was just, and Kevin Smith does that with Stephen. He did it on Stephen Colbert, where he went on and he just. Stephen's like couldn't get a word in edgewise. It's just
watch a Q&A panel with him. He'll get like 2 questions answered, because it'll take him an hour and a half to answer 2 questions.
Well, a very popular video back in the day was An Evening with Kevin Smith, where he just talks about mainly his experience with Prince and like the first time he hooked up with his current wife.
That might have been the one they shot here in Austin. Like I know several people that were in there. I was at the Paramount Theater. It's funny. I actually saw Kevin Smith there just a couple years ago when he took Clerks. No, not Clerks 2. Jay and Silent Bob reboot. He took that on the road, and I saw him and Jason Mewes, and they showed the movie. And it was funny because I'm in line to get in the theater. I went to go see it by myself.
Yeah. So as did I.
But it was like I look around the theater and I'm like, man, there's a lot of like fat white dudes with beards and long hair and backwards caps. It's like we all like Kevin Smith apparently.
Mm. He's doing that now with Clerks 3. He's kind of going around doing the same thing. Are you looking forward to Clerks 3? Have you seen the trailer? Does it look promising?
I haven't watched the trailer. I know the basic premise. I know that it's like Dante and Randall making a movie of themselves. I'm curious. I'm interested. I don't think Kevin Smith's newer movies are as good as his older movies, but they're also like not as, I don't know, pretentious. They're like they're kind of comfort foodie to me. I'm eager to see it.
You know, Dogma is a movie that you can't get anywhere, but you can watch it on YouTube for free. for some reason. But I did watch that recently. You can also watch it with like different commentaries as well. But anyway, some of his earlier stuff, like when Jason Mewes, who I like thought was like, he's a cool kind of like stoner rebel dude when I was younger. I look at him now, I'm like, knowing the real stuff that he went through during the times that he filmed like these movies.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh, he was a serious drunk and a drug addict and like addicted to heroin and stuff like
Yeah.
during these times. And then you see him in Dogma, he's like talking about like pussy and ass and sticking it in this, and it's like just very childish, juvenile, vulgar stuff. It's like, oh, I found this amusing when I was younger, and now it's like, eh. But I find that as they've aged with me, like they're 20 years, they're 15, 20 years older or whatever. But when it gets to Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, you don't expect Mewes to be that fucking good an actor. When he gets to the emotional stuff with his daughter, he can't say that he's the father of Harley. You know, Kevin Smith's daughter plays his daughter in the movie, right?
Right.
And he can't say that I'm your dad. So he's going on this journey with her. And then it reaches this emotional climax at Chronicon, where it's revealed. And I'm like, oh my God, Kevin Smith's making me fucking like choke. I was in the theater, the shitty fucking theater, because it was they'll never play another Kevin Smith movie here again. I don't know how I'm going to see Clerks 3. But I was like, I'm in a group of people. And people are choking up at that scene. Small theater, but still people like, oh, it's getting me. And he can hook you with the sentimentality now. It's not as vulgar and in your face. Like, I find he's a big softy. You watch his earlier stuff, he's more cynical and fucking just brazen and fucking got it's almost like he's got a chip on his shoulder. But now, like, that's not present at all. It's all self-deprecating. I'm just thankful to be here kind of attitude.
Yeah. He changed when he started smoking weed. He got less serious.
He started watching The Flash and crying on fucking Twitter.
Watch him in interviews though. If you watch like his younger interviews, you know, he's like wearing glasses and he's kind of soft spoken but very precise about what he says, and kind of tries to, you know, put on this air of intelligence, and kind of wants to seem like a funny, nice guy who's also a clever filmmaker. And like you watch his like stuff now and he's just like, hey everyone, how's it going? I'm high as fuck, and oh my God, this movie was the best thing ever, and I just couldn't stop crying. He loves everything. Like his reviews and stuff they kind of remind me of Sohel, because he's just like he gives everything like a 10 out of 10 basically. But like I love his enthusiasm and his excitement. And so yeah, he seems like a really cool dude and a nice dude.
If he wasn't so kind of like old man adorable, he would get canceled 10 times over for the shit he said. Like, just everything's a vulgar kind of like come over your chest face, and he's always talking about semen for one thing. Like, it always comes back to that, kind of like on these shows where we end up talking about schlongs. But it's like he's the type of guy, he's almost like South Park. It's like, oh that's okay, they can get away with it. It's like, we know that's kind of safe because I don't know, there's something about him that, okay, you look at like back in the day when Clerks came out, like Siskel and Ebert were like, oh, it's so good and all this, they're praising it. And then Mallrats comes out, like, piece of shit. They turned on him on a dime, and then fucking Chasing Amy comes out and like, well, he's back again. I'm like, these critics, I think, were just, I love Siskel and Ebert, but sometimes they were just like a little too stuck up. They just didn't get it, and they didn't realize what would become cult classics, and they kind of really just dismissed some of these movies.
I watched a video compilation recently. It was like hours and hours long, but it was all of the Siskel and Ebert appearances on David Letterman.
Oh yeah, I've watched those. Go ahead.
But I just thought it was interesting to get. It made me think of you, PJ, because I remember I know like you talk about them a lot, but yeah, and I think I'd actually like seen some of those. I didn't watch Letterman consistently, but you know, like I saw enough that I probably caught some of those. They seemed a little familiar, so yeah, that was kind Kind of a blast from the past.
I will not highlight these vulgar comments.
I just wish I didn't read what I just
I don't like that
read.
word. I don't like that. You know, it's the boo with the cake. But anyway, I
Yeah.
don't like that.
There ain't no cake I want.
Sometimes you
don't
see
give
it
me
in the
that for my
thumb.
birthday.
Sometimes you see that in the thumbnail. And you're like, why?
Well,
Don't look appetizing at all. All over themselves. These guys are in like in a dirty competition in the chat. But yeah, we were talking about Kevin Smith, so it's got to go there, doesn't it? I don't know. I've appreciate Tusk, even though it's a piece of shit. I appreciate.
I never saw those. I didn't see that when he tried to do like those
Yoga
I guess more
Hosers?
serious. Yeah, I didn't see that one. I did see the Red State.
Red State is a criminally underrated. You could argue that technically it's probably his best movie because as a horror movie, it's just so fucking like visceral and just fucking. He really went for it, man. From the camera angles to like the violence in it is just there's one scene where a guy's wrapped up in something and he's getting anyway. And the end and like John Goodman's in it, and the end is so like off. It's Twilighty Zone. It's Outer Limitsy, but it's I don't know. I find a lot of people. It's become like kind of under the radar cult horror film. I think more people are appreciating it. But I remember at the time I was like, I can't believe he directed this. This is what I wanted Rob Zombie to kind of be like to evolve into, and then he de-evolved. I remember seeing The Devil's Rejects, and just an empty feeling in my gut of just like, oh, I'm sick. I'm sick of what I just watched.
I kind of like House of a Thousand Corpses. It's a very trashy movie, but
that's a good movie. That's a good fucking schlocky horror movie. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's good. It's good. You know, like around like Halloween time, I love to just like drink some beer and watch that movie and have a good time. But yeah, I think everything he's done after that, I think you're right. He seems to get worse and worse and worse, and now he's doing the monsters that I don't think will buck that trend.
Oh Jesus Christ, no! I mean, it looks like bargain basement bullshit, and that's being kind. And I don't really care about Rob Zombie's feelings because for one thing, he's never going to hear it. But I will appreciate his music. Some of his fucking you listen to Rob Zombie / White Zombie's greatest hits. I mean, it's awesome. Dragula and what's that one? Is like driving on the 45 or something like that. I don't fucking know. It's like a weird like road song. Jesus, what's the name of that song? It's gonna bug me now. But have you ever listened to White Zombie?
I like the White Zombie
More
stuff.
Human Than Human. That's a good
one.
Yeah,
I like Phantom Stranger. I mean, almost everything off of that Hellbilly Deluxe album from when was that? Fucking 98, 1998. Then the one that came out in like 2001 had some bangers on it that had like that Feel So Numb. Oh, there that CD he did. It was like the Rob Zombie Past, Present, and Future or something, but he had like some cool covers. Like he did like a cover to like Boogie, like that I'm your boogeyman.
That's
what I
that's
am.
The album with his greatest hits plus that cover. And
That was good. She's a Brick House. He covers that too.
Yes. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot about that.
Yeah. So it's he had an album.
Thunder Kiss 65 is the song I really like by them.
He put out an album like it's called something like American Music to Strip To or something. But like I used to frequent some gentleman clubs, we'll say. And
I thought you were gonna say gay bars.
No, but like Rob Zombie
which would be totally fine. I'm not saying
it was a popular option. A lot of dancers enjoyed performing to Rob Zombie. So yeah,
he's a small man. Apparently, he's like my
very short,
5'7" or something.
He's playing in Austin soon, but I'm not going to go to the concert. But yeah, in like a few weeks, it's on a Friday night, which is when I do Text Trek, so I wouldn't have gone to it. But he's touring with like Power Man 5000 and Mudvayne and Static X, even though Wayne Static is dead for like 10 years, but I guess there's still like a band calling themselves Static X. Oh well. But yeah, probably gonna sit out on that concert.
You know what horror franchise I find is consistently like pretty good? Like they've never kind of fallen off in consistency. Like there've been different levels of entertaining. The Final fucking Destination movies.
Never seen them.
I think the first one is they're on a plane, and Sean William Scott and Devin Sawa was in that one. The second one, it's all about an accident on the highway. The third one is third one is a bus. No, the third one is a bridge, I think. Or maybe that's the fourth one. Anyway, there's 5, right? But then then the last one is actually turns out the reveal. Spoiler alert. Who cares? It's the 5th one is actually a prequel to the first one. And then when we retroactively, you're like, oh, wait a second, it's actually set in the 90s. You didn't realize that. If you paid attention, you'd realize, oh, they don't have cell phones and they don't. Certain technology is not available. And you actually, when the second time you watch it, you're like, oh, they actually did a good job of setting it in like fucking like 20 years or 15 years in the past and tricking you into not like realizing it, I suppose.
That's kind of cool.
But the conceit of the movie is that a group of people cheat death, and then death always comes back, and it's great because there's no killer. You don't actually see any killer. It's just a concept of circumstances that lead to somebody's death, and they're always very kind of like stretched out and convoluted. But some of the deaths, if you go through them, I think the 5th movie shows a montage of all the deaths throughout the movie. And there's some of the best gruesome deaths in any horror franchise. Just like a lot of beheadings, and there's one where a ballerina is like jumping off a beam and she like lands on her neck. And it's like very well done effect. But yeah. Those movies always have a sense of tension to them. That it's schlocky, but they have no other choice but to be clever about it in some way or some form. There's a lot of water mixing with like electrical socket stuff going on in those movies too. I do not like Final Destination. I have seen 3 of them. Predictable. Yeah. My favorite actually is Friday the 13th franchise. I've seen those the most. I find it just,
I like Nightmare on Elm
simple.
Street, but I need to rewatch. I haven't watched any in a long time.
Have you seen the new season of Stranger Things?
I've only seen season 1 of Stranger Things.
Well, season 4 is a direct, like, homage to A Nightmare on Elm Street. The villain in the 4th season is a Freddy Krueger type that does things in your dreams, but has more power than that. It's like if Freddy was like part 1 Freddy and part 2 Freddy. You know, that part 2 Freddy movie where he's like, he has powers that don't make any sense.
Right. That's the one I need to watch again. Like as a kid, I always thought that was the terrible one and everyone hated it. But now I've heard like, so, and we talked about this on
I've always thought that was the scariest one.
After Dark.
That's actually the only one I've had direct nightmare. That one and Dream Warriors.
Warriors is fun.
I've watched and actually frightened me. The other ones not so much. Like, you know,
Wes Craven's New Nightmare scared the fuck out of me as a kid.
Yeah, not like there's the part with the babysitter in the hospital at the end that freaked me out. But that kid who was in Pet Sematary, who was so good at playing a creepy kid, was good. But I find Heather Langenkamp or whatever, like she's playing herself, and you have Wes Craven playing himself, and the producer playing. They're all just like, they all feel like amateur actors trying to be in like a amateur movie. You know what I mean? It feels very
like you're watching a fan film or something.
Yeah, it's very. But
like when Stacey Abrams was in Star Trek.
Stacey who?
Stacey Abrams when she played the Earth president.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're not a professional actor, so it's a little awkward.
It's like when a basketball player or like a baseball player or something, like
Hey,
somebody in sports.
James Worthy made a good Klingon on TNG.
That's an interesting question. What good sports people actually succeeded in acting?
Do wrestlers count? Because a lot of them
Yeah,
turned
yeah,
to
wrestlers
actors.
count. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, what's his name? Fucking
Dave Bautista.
well, I'm not thinking wrestlers. I'm trying to do like a real sport, but Carl
Michael
Weathers.
Carl Weathers.
He's good.
What sport is he from?
He played football, but
Oh, did
he was in he was in Rocky, and then he was in Predator,
Yes.
and Mandalorian now, and Happy Gilmore.
Yeah,
He's
Carl
good in all
Weathers.
those.
Yeah, Carl Weathers has never been bad in anything. Action Jackson, I want to see that again. That's one I haven't seen in a long time. And we know Michael Jordan can't act. LeBron James can't act. He was good in Trainwreck for some reason, and then he wasn't good in Space Jam. I don't know about baseball players. I can't think of any baseball players. I don't really know a lot about sports. Definitely no hockey players ever act. That's a fucking fact. Like you'll never see Mario Lemieux in a fucking movie. Yeah, it's hard to think of any sports people who can act. It's just not in their milieu. It's like singers who try to act. It's like Madonna, stick to your, you're not great. You were
I think
good
Hulk Hogan was the first wrestler to turn actor.
Oh God, he sucks.
He was in Rocky 3. Remember when Rocky has to fight this wrestler, and it's played by Hulk Hogan?
I'm big, brother. Yeah, he played basically himself in that. That was fun.
Yeah.
Then he did the first one I ever saw, the one I got excited for because I used to love Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and fucking Ultimate Warrior and Undertaker, all those guys, was No Holds Barred with Tiny Lester. Remember Tiny Lester? No Holds, and they incorporated it into the wrestling show somehow. That movie, watched it years later, I'm like, oh, this is shit. Like, this is pure fucking, like, just lowest common denominator schlocky 80s, well, it was 1990, but type of action stuff. I used to love Suburban Commando.
That's the one I was about to bring up.
Him and Christopher Lloyd, and I watched it on YouTube, I don't know how long ago. I'm like, this is really bad. This is fucking, like, and Mr. Nanny and all this shit. It's like, wow. How did he, like, when you're a kid, you're stupid, you don't realize. But when you're an adult, you're like, how did this acting get by? How did anybody go? And you find out the movie's failed. Like, he didn't have a successful movie career. Everything he was involved in tanked. Yeah.
I'm very curious about the Chris Hemsworth Hulk Hogan biopic that is coming soon.
I'm Hulk Hogan, brother.
That's one of the reasons.
Look at my muscles.
Hey, his arms are bigger in Thor: Love and Thunder than in any of the other Thor movies. Like, part of it, I think, is because he was bulking up even more than usual for the Hulk Hogan movie too. But yeah, I'm curious
Hulk Hogan. I'm from the Outback. I'm an American bred man. That's more of I don't know. It's bad. But yeah, I'm interested in that, but I never heard much about it. I mean, I don't know if it's filmed or what. Probably, I guess it is.
Yeah, it's probably in post. Like, I'm kind of surprised there aren't trailers for it yet, because I started hearing about it a while ago.
To be honest, Hulk Hogan's story is not all that interesting. It's probably, like, you think of all the fucked up stories that all these WWE wrestlers have had. Hulk Hogan's is one of the most, like, yeah, okay. Not that look at Andre the Giant or fucking Ric Flair, how controversial he is. And let's not even get into other things. You ever see
Andre the Giant?
Dark Side of the Ring? You ever see that?
Mm-mm.
No, it's all about, like, the really terrible fucking stuff. Like, it's like nightmare situations I would never want to be a part of. with these wrestlers and drugs and excess and
Oh yeah, it's
vendettas
terrible.
and just like backstabbing and betrayal. It's like, wow, there was much more interesting drama actually behind the scenes than they portrayed in the fucking characters. Like, it's crazy.
So, would the top 3 best actors to come out of the world of wrestlers, would they be John Cena, The Rock, and Dave Bautista?
Yes, easily. Yeah.
Then everyone else is just kind of, not that great.
Stone Cold Steve Austin isn't very good.
He
God, he was in
isn't.
Expendables, and I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah, he did not have a very wide range in his short-lived acting career. I think he gave up on that. He was a podcaster too. He had a podcast for a little
He's
bit.
a better podcaster type of dude. I've heard some of his stuff. Like, he's a more interesting like person off the cuff than he is like some scripted actor. I watched his biography one time years ago, and he has this story like, well, people asked me how to get my name, and I was having a cup of coffee, and I was thinking a long time. My wife said, better drink your coffee before it gets stone cold. I was like, that's my name, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I'm like, oh my God. Really?
Man, he could cut a promo though. He was
he
one of the
could.
best promo dudes in the whole wrestling industry.
Oh, Roddy Piper.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he
Jesus.
had at least one movie. I'm sure we're all thinking of the same one.
He's in one of the best cult classics. They Live.
I need to find that on streaming or Blu-ray or something. I want to watch that again. I ain't seen that in too damn long.
One of my all-time favorite scenes, or I guess it's probably in the top 5 fight scenes in general, is Keith. He's telling Keith David to put on the glasses, and Keith David at this point in the movie, he's had enough of his shit, and he's not budging. He's like, I'm not fucking doing it. And he's like, put on the glasses, and they have this prolonged, brutal, what looks like a pretty real fucking fight, like for movies anyway. It's all about getting Keith David to put on the glasses. It's brilliant.
Starfleet boy,
you're muted.
You've returned.
I've returned.
Are we doing the Savage Curtain tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes.
It's about damn time.
It's about damn time. Minute. Lizzo. La 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 la.
Ruben, have you seen the trailer for The Rings of Power? Lord of the Flies.
No, I don't think I've seen the trailer that came out recently.
Ruben doesn't watch any TV anymore. He's just stuck in the Galapagos Islands.
He watches
forever.
Barry.
What about The Bear? Has anyone watched The Bear?
That's premiering on Disney Plus in Canada next week, so I'm going to start watching that. I've always wanted to see a goddamn show that was like all very much food oriented. There's a movie called Chef with Jon Favreau, which I love. There's a show called Treme that was on HBO that has a restaurant component to that show that I fucking adored. Treme was such a good show. It's an underrated gem that just nobody knows about. Treme, it's called.
Treme. Not like Trem.
It's set in New Orleans or New Orleans.
Guys, look how bright this shit gets. It's like a warp core.
Turn that shit off. You're gonna have a warp core breach.
Warp core breach in your pants.
Okay. Wait, PJ, what did you think of Worf?
Oh, can we talk about Star Trek now? Okay. Okay, listen, I'm gonna get into it. It's getting a little. It's winding down a bit. I'm gonna get it all riled up right here. I know what to say and what to do right now. Okay.
Okay.
So there's this guy. He's on the internets. He became fast friends with Terry Matalis. Terry Matalis. Him and another person who I don't know have seen a good portion or all of Star Trek Picard Season 3. I assume minus the visual effects, because we know realistically there's probably an assembly cut of the series that contains pretty much everything but the visual effects, because they've already done ADR and they're really like good into this process on the show. and assuming that these people are not full of shit because they're visually, like, you can see that they're friends with Terry Metalis. I'm talking about Robert Meyer Burnett. And I'll tell you about Robert Meyer Burnett. He's a guy I like. He's a guy I also disagree with a lot. And those are my favorite people. They're the Howard Stern types. You listen to see what they're going to say that you vehemently agree with, but you also listen to hear what you know you're not going to agree with very strongly. And he's one of those types, and I appreciate him for that. Been listening to him for years, and he's on the John Campea show. But man, they're fucking bragging about, I saw Picard, it's good, it's great. And coming from a guy who fucking hates modern Trek, I almost don't believe the hype. And he's hinting at certain things now. I think I know too much because, like, it's so frustrating. He's letting the beans spill, and Terry Metalis like, you're still my buddy. And it's like, it's interesting how a person who's show running a season of modern Trek, and I'm not saying he shouldn't be openly friends with. I'm saying it's refreshing to know that even the harshest critics aren't being kind of snubbed by the people actually making the shit. And they're kind of like, okay. And they're actually inviting this person to their place, supposedly, over a course of 2 weekends to say, here, look at this, look at Picard season 3. And it's almost brilliant in a way because you're getting all of these naysayers who listen to Robert Meyer Burnett and associated channels, which I don't judge in any way, shape, or form. People can love and hate what they want. But it's almost like good publicity because now you're getting people saying, well, if Robert Meyer Burnett is saying it's good, I might check it out. And so I think it's actually building a weird hype amongst the naysayers or the more negative folks who just don't like any of it. You know what I mean? I don't like Picard, but I do like a lot of modern Trek. It's just Picard it bothers me. So what do you guys think of that? Like Terry Metalis showing the entire season of the show to such a harsh critic.
I was wondering.
I listen to, by the way, and appreciate, but I also have criticisms against, and that's okay. And he's the type of person that invites that discourse as well, which I also appreciate. Sorry, Father, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I was just gonna say, like, I was wondering, like, did someone like offer him some work or something? Did he like actually get to like work on something that they're doing, and and maybe that is what made him be a little bit more open-minded? But yeah, Terry Metalis has obviously been dying to talk about Picard season 3. He's been dying to talk about it since they were shooting this stuff earlier this year. He's been he's always talking about, you're going to see so much ship action, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. He's always tweeting stuff. He's always like interacting with people online. So I'm not that surprised that of all the Trek showrunners, he'd be the one who would, I guess, let people, see some of the show when maybe they're not supposed to. I'm almost wondering if there will be like an eventual backlash for some of the stuff, if maybe like some big secrets get revealed or something. And that's kind of my fear at this point, but it's certainly exciting, to see people hyped. I heard some stuff from someone who I know is friends with Robert, what is his name? Burnett.
Robert Burnett.
But I try to avoid spoilers probably more than any sane person does. So, with Star Trek, I'll keep up with like the trailers and the promotional stuff and like, behind the scenes interviews, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't want to know too much about the show until I'm ready to sit down and watch it. But yeah, it's exciting.
There's a female villain. Nobody knows who's playing it. Oh, I mean, the people know, but they're not. I'll give anybody who's seen who know the ins and outs of Picard season 3. They're pretty tight-lipped about what they know. But it's this whole like, I know a thing and I can't say. It's like, fuck off. It's like, come on, spoil me. But then it's like, obviously he would get in trouble. So I'm thinking maybe like what you said, but maybe he was offered. I just need to preface this by saying he's stated that he's been accused of being a shill now or whatever. That like, Paramount is paying him. That people who like anything are often accused of being paid by whatever company makes what they like. and that's almost never really true with anything. It's never a real thing. It's just something to. It's like a scapegoat. It
Yeah.
makes no sense. However, if it seems like someone like him could be hired as a consultant of sorts, and that's why he has access. But it could just be that he struck up a friendship.
Well, there's a
And
common belief too that getting paid to be a shill means actual money, but it's called access journalism. So if Robert Meyer Burnett is suddenly getting all this access to footage, he's got to be nicer about it if he wants to keep that access.
yeah.
I'm not saying he is. I don't know the story, but it's not necessarily getting paid in actual money. Like we're paying you to say nice things about our show. It's if you say bad things about our show, you will never get access to anything ever again. So either you say nice things to keep getting access, or you don't get access. So
Or maybe
that's really what happens a lot more often than not. It's not direct payments, which is what it sounds like when you think, oh, he's a shill getting paid by Disney. It's like, no, he's a shill, probably desperate to keep access, so he just does whatever Disney wants him to do, you know?
I was talking with Noah Averback Katz when I was on Sean Trek on the Tubes thing, and he interviewed him, and I was like kind of just there co-anchoring or whatever, and I got very self-conscious after I criticized this. I was like kind of poo-pooed on Discovery a bit. I'm like, oh shit, that's the show he's in. And I don't think, in some ways, I don't think a lot of people take some of the people who work in the business take it, the criticism as hard, to heart as we might think. Like, for example, Terry Matalas probably has watched Robert Meyer Burnett and I'm like, oh, I kind of agree. And I'm taking a cue and I'm kind of like taking notes. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily, I'll give you access if you say nice things. It's more like, hey, I think even the harshest critic, they're going to see the Enterprise F or whatever the fuck and this villain and Worf is back and actually kicking ass with his sword. Like there's some like fights or killing going on and whatnot. And you can only imagine what that's like for
Do
somebody
you know
like
how
him
they?
to watch. And it's understandable that he's giddy about it, but I'm just a little cautious of the overhype.
Do you know how
Yeah.
they got in contact with each other? Because that was
Through
pretty
Twitter.
visible. Yeah, like he found out some stuff or he had heard something, and he was tweeting about like, oh wow, like Picard season 3 is sounds surprisingly great. I just found out a bunch of like really good stuff, and then Terry Matalas saw that and he was like, oh, DM me, let's talk more about this.
Yeah, and they had DMs like Robert was like, I like 12 Monkeys and all this stuff. And yeah.
I heard on Trek Yards because Stewart is friends with Burnett, and
Yeah.
he said that supposedly he had like what you were saying, he had gone over to Terry Matalas's house over the course of 2 weekends. He had seen the entire show, and
I don't
the
know. I'm not,
the other thing I know about like the thing about like Picard and Beverly.
yeah.
Okay, well,
What thing?
I'm not gonna talk about it because I'm sure Starfleet Void doesn't want to know.
I don't know
Picard and
anything.
Beverly get
I don't
together
know
at the
anything
end.
about it, and I don't want to know. I do hope. I do hope that. The only rumors that I believe are that they're lying about Soji and Elnor not being in it.
No, dude, they're gone. Cameo appearance at best.
Those rumors.
They were out doing like conventions while season 3 was shooting, so
they're young. They could fly.
If they are in it, they're in like one blink and you miss it scene, and that's
not even. It's gonna be like episodes, little here and there's.
No, that's just physically impossible. Like
I don't know.
They weren't in California when the season
Dolly
was being
Parton
shot
in frickin' wherever she was for the Orville and made it look like she was on the set.
Well, I mean,
You notice-
maybe, but I don't know why they would. It doesn't seem like something you would lie about or keep secret about.
Yeah, so
You know,
that the
it doesn't
fans
make
who love them
sense.
would be like lose their shit.
But
when
you
they
you
come.
probably
Well, Tamara Deverell did lie about the Bridge of the Enterprise
Yeah,
in season 2
exactly.
of Discovery.
They're known to lie. Ever
J.J.
since
Abrams
J.J.
did lie
Abrams,
about the
yeah.
identity of John Harrison in
There
Into
you go.
Darkness.
Well, I heard from a reliable source that Issa Briones was pretty pissed off about how she got treated with Picard season 3. So no, I
What if
don't
that's
think that
part
she's
of
in
the
it at all.
subterfuge, sabotage?
Well, I guess we'll find out, but I'm gonna wager that that's not the case. But in a few months, we'll know, won't we?
Yeah,
So,
we will, that's true.
from what I
Hopefully in a few
understand,
months.
Worf is not a captain. Or is
He
He's got
may
Captain
be,
Pips.
he may have captain's pips. He might be a captain,
I
but
think
not.
he's not in command of a ship, but he has the
Right.
rank of captain.
I think that Rafi is the captain of the Stargazer and Seven is the first officer. I don't know if the Stargazer is in it though. I hear it's not.
We know Seven's the first officer somewhere. She's
Somewhere.
a commander.
We know there are 2 Enterprises that are featured, probably like the E and F.
And
Well,
maybe
unless
the
they go,
D.
unless maybe you get a little D in there.
Yeah, just go on the holodeck. You can just whip it up. Just computer Enterprise D bridge.
Yeah, not the bloody A, C, or B, or whatever.
They're also gonna go to the -A, the -B, the -C, which are
No such
like
things.
yeah, they were like they're like in another universe and they took place before the 1701. So like after the -A, you had 1701.
That
What
is-
about the
that's
Enterprise
not what
Gen
happened.
Z, where the ship just runs itself and the crew is useless?
We're gonna which
The ship is bussin'.
we're gonna have we're definitely gonna have the F. It looks like based on a teaser I saw Terry Metalis give online that
Yeah,
there's definitely gonna be
so
F
you're gonna freak
action.
the F out when you see
Yeah.
this effing ship. F F F. Do you get it? I'm putting a big hint in here with the letter F.
That's what he yeah.
That's
Well,
basically the tweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think it will be our buddy Jack Truck Central will be very, very thrilled to see it when we see it. But the Odyssey
Yeah.
class,
There's no. Patrick Stewart's very adamant about not having it be called or hinted that it's TNG season 8 or it's not a reunion, you know. And he's
But
like
he's
very.
right. It's not. A
He's
reunion,
he's so. It just seems. I don't know for sure. It just seems like he's always been like really resistant of just having the old crew back together. I don't know what it is, but they've hinted that they're not all together in most of the season.
I think part
Mhm.
of it is that like in a way like they feel probably and him as the lead on the show, they feel like they maybe let like kind of like they have to do like it was a twofold thing. One, the fans let them down, and then like they like maybe let the fans down or something. There's this whole vibe back in the day of like, oh, we're never gonna put the uniforms on again because like obviously no one wants to see Star Trek anymore. There was like this whole like tone or vibe that the actors,
Sour
and
grapes.
especially Sir Patrick Stewart would kind of be accusatory, not directly, but just be like, oh, well, no one really wants to see this anymore, so we're just hanging up our spacesuits or whatever, you know?
I feel Patrick
and-
Stewart doesn't have. He has a warped kind of perception of the character and like what it means. Like he's clearly
I don't
not a
think
guy
so.
who watches any of the episodes or really. He's probably never. He's probably not into the lore and stuff like that, and so he probably relies on other people to take care of that in the show. But I just want to see old Picard again, like the Picard that I knew. Like even in the movies, he changed a
But
bit.
that's not fair.
By the time he got to
okay?
Nemesis, he was a little too fucking jokey. I was like, but he's too laid fucking back in this. And then they get
What-
super serious with his clone and so what's his clone's name?
Shinzon.
Shinzon. And I'm like,
Just imagine
it's
someone said
goofy
to
and then
you-
too serious. I don't understand.
Just imagine someone said to you, I just want to see the old PJ back. Like, how do you even do that? Like, you can't. Once you've, like, evolved, there's no going back.
Yeah,
Like,
Well,
Picard,
I
you
should
know,
explain what I mean by old is okay, like you have Picard season 1 where he has definitely better moments in season 1 than he does in season 2. Season 2, it's like the whole thing with his mother and the memories and the fucking all of that is just such a downer, and such like the you got to watch Dan Merle. He says it much better. He explains
I
it
don't care
much
what
better.
Dan Merle says. I like
But
like to me it's like
but
super compelling.
I
that
know
Picard has
that
this
that's
like amazing new facet to him. So like I don't need to see what Dan Merle has to say about it. I want to hear what
and
PJ
it is
has to say about it.
expectations
Like,
versus.
I don't want to know what Dan Merle wants to say.
Well, I bring up
The
the only reason I bring it up because he did a video that's like so accurately like
that accurately says what you feel. So
that
you don't have to say
accurately
it.
yeah, it's like
Okay.
hey, you want to know what I think almost exactly? This
Go
video
watch
just
this video.
it's not full of vitriol or anything. It's very kind of analytic and it doesn't take much of it personally. It doesn't feel like it's just this doesn't work and this is why I think. I'm like, oh, I think that too. It's just one of those things. But I do appreciate that there are fans that love it because it got to continue and we got to have this TNG reunion, however that's going to turn out. But fucking seeing Worf, man, it's like I heard Trek. I don't want to bring it. I'm not criticizing another channel or anything, but like I got a little bit perturbed when they were criticizing Worf's look. I'm like, what are you talking about? He looks awesome. Like the eyebrows are too white and it doesn't. It looks like fan film makeup. I'm like, what? The makeup looks awesome. What are you talking about?
Well, the video's like stylized. It's got like sparkles and like spheres and shit flying around, and it's
Yeah, and like a lot of stuff's out of focus.
Yeah, it's out of
not...
focus. Like it's
you
not
will get
meant
you
to
do
be,
get clearer images in those.
like for like a
Yeah.
split second, but it's also like highly saturated and has like a specific look. And I don't think that's what it's gonna look like exactly, but I think he looks like a badass Dahar master, and he has this
Yeah, he looks good.
sword. Like
They did say
common-
Geordi looks good though. I mean, they did pray. I'm not saying they like poo-pooed on
Right.
everything. I'm just saying
the common reaction was overwhelmingly positive,
Yeah.
and from my observation, it's just totally anecdotal. I have no empirical evidence, but from what I observed, it was a very positive reaction to the look of Worf.
I did see some complaints like Klingons age slower, so you shouldn't look so old.
They don't
I'm
age
like,
slower though; they age faster.
yeah, Alexander grew up like damn fast. You're right. That's true. I forgot about
mean,
that.
they live longer though, don't they?
They live longer, but they don't age
faster.
slow.
They reached like a grizzled look early on, I suppose,
Worf-
in the 50s, 60s.
Worf had gray hair in the 2390s and all good things, so it would make sense he'd be even grayer in the time of Picard season 3.
And his role is connected to the Dominion War, so are we going to see DS9 in this fucking thing? Is he on DS9?
I hope so.
That would be amazing.
You know, Kurtzman talked about going back to DS9, and he's just like, yeah, I mean, like, we've had conversations about that. But he always says that, you know, he said the same thing about, like, yeah, you know, we've had conversations about how would we show the Gorn. It's like, you fucker, you already shot that a year earlier. You know, or he's like, yeah, you know, like, we keep talking about doing a crossover. I think maybe we'll do a crossover at some point. It's like, yeah, you just shot that. you had Tawny and Jack on set in Toronto shooting live action Mariner and Boimler and didn't say jack shit about it. And then going on the ready room and be like, yeah, we're thinking about, you know, we might want to do a crossover at some point.
I've always wanted to see at least one or some of the characters from Lower Decks show up somewhere. I figured it would be Picard season 2, if anything.
Yeah, I remember talking about that kind of stuff.
But this Strange New World season 2 episode is a potential red flag, and I'll explain why. I don't mean to put a downer on it. They're a bit loosey-goosey with how it's going to work. Okay, it's a live-action Boimler and Mariner causing shenanigans on the Enterprise. Clearly, it's either a holodeck thing or it's time travel. One of those two things, or some illusion by Q, who knows. Some excuse, kind of like Trials and Tribulations. It's going to be goofy and campy, I suppose. But they say there's animated and live action elements. Like, I don't want to see
the Entertainment Weekly interview.
What did he say? What?
Anson Mount specifically says like it's not going to be like Roger Rabbit, but there will be some animated sequences in the
Yeah,
episode.
that's strange though. Like, why would there be animated sequences in a live-action Strange New World show that we're supposed to take seriously? I can buy the characters from Lower Deck show up and it be a comedic thing and not be like cartoony. Like, it'd be
Uh-huh.
realistic enough that you'd buy real life Boymes and Mariner there. Well, like, what parts of the episode are they gonna like transition? Like,
Yeah.
they go through a filter and they're like, oh, we're live action now. It's like,
Well, I don't know if they'll say that,
that's like
but
that's jumping the shark
I
territory if they
I
do
think
that.
well,
I don't
I
know.
wouldn't think so,
Well,
but
they
I
actually
think
they jumped the shark with the Gorn episode, so
I think the way that they're going to do that, which actually seems obvious to me, is how you'd go about it. Is whenever they show 24th century Cerritos, that's all just animated, and then whenever you show 23rd century Enterprise, that's all live action. And then when you have characters go from one to the other, they'll go from one to the other, but you don't have to address it. You don't have to bring it up.
so
In the
like
dialogue.
if Freeman goes over to the Enterprise or something,
Then it's Don Lewis.
then it's Don Lewis. Oh, but that would be so weird and silly, wouldn't it?
Well, they said what Jonathan Frakes described it as mind bending, but the fact that he's directing it, that it's obviously going to be mainly live action. Anson Mount said it's mainly live action, so I'm thinking it'll just kind of like be bookended. I think maybe like we open on the Cerritos. It looks like a Lower Decks episode at first, and then I don't know, Mariner and Boimler do something, and then like they're on the Enterprise, and then maybe at some point, someone goes with them into the future for a little bit.
And that will be the day Star Trek truly died.
I don't know. That sounds fine to me.
No, I'm kidding. It's definitely one of the most fascinating things out of Comic-Con. Plus the fact that there's going to be a Lower Decks episode where they go to Deep Space Nine. They know,
September
they
29th.
realize now that Deep Space Nine is like it's like, yeah, the smart fans. I'm not saying people who don't like DS9 aren't smart. I'm just joking.
I'll say that.
The fans really dig this Deep Space Nine, and even it's almost like DS9 and Voyager have surpassed TNG in popularity over the years.
I was gonna say
TNG is not as talked about, even though season 3 and 4 are like amazing.
I mean, I just saw the biggest thing that came out of San Diego Comic-Con for Star Trek was a teaser trailer of all the TNG cast. So I don't know. I think it's still pretty talked about. Certainly in
you're
terms
having
of
a whole TNG reunion happening right as we speak. Like,
and
what do you mean it's not talked about? They're milking everything they can in order that it came out. Basically,
you hear a lot about DS9 and Voyager now than you ever did. But I agree that once if the smart fans, no, it's TNG. I love TNG. I grew up on it. It was my first one, and going to see those movies was like a fucking experience. Like, I couldn't believe other people were in there watching. It was like one of those things. Like, these are my people. I don't know any of them, but they're laughing at Data, and you know what I mean. Like, I never knew people who responded to Trek on a screen. That's what's so special about going to see First Contact, and even Nemesis is like, well, at least I saw it in theaters. Like, even though it's
Star Trek's answer to your statement about Star Trek dying is, I've been dead before, so it's no big deal.
Yeah. But if this TNG reunion of sorts is the big bang that they need for the modern Trek era, where like most people are like, yeah, it's fucking rocked, I guarantee you Janeway will follow, Deep Space Nine will follow, because that's the nature of the beast. No new ideas? Well, let's revisit what worked fucking 30 years ago then. And possibly ruin it, but we'll try to make it better.
I just think with Star Trek and that era, the stories are just not finished yet. Like, it's different from...
What Trek fan doesn't want to see what's going on Deep Space Nine right now?
Right.
Like, really?
Yeah, right. That's not like a...
Ruben doesn't, but everyone else does.
Yeah, but everyone else does. That's what I'm trying to say.
And as the audience for Trek dwindles, I think there's more people on my side than not.
So the Lower Decks...
your King Totem Chief just defected and said Picard's amazing. So I don't know what you're talking about. Chief? I don't know. Robert Burnett was
I
everyone's like
watch
favorite.
Robert Burnett.
You did interview him though. And
Yeah, I've interviewed a lot of people. It doesn't mean they're my main total.
You crapped on Trek for 20 minutes
That's right.
because
And now
that's
he's a
what
shill.
that's
He
what good
craps
people
no
do.
more.
No, I'm entertained by people who both love and dislike Trek. It's just it's when the criticism gets really vitriolic and it's like doomcocky. It's like no. You're not understanding a fundamental element of a thing, so you actually don't know what you're criticizing. I'll give you an example. It's the last time I kind of like watched somebody for 5 minutes. I'm like, I can't do you. It's like too much. They complained about a song in the opening episode of season 2 of Picard, "Time Is on My Side" by Irma. Yeah, the original artist anyway. And his critic kept going back to, they didn't even have the money to get the original song by the Rolling Stones. They repeated this thing, and I was like, I can't. I turned it off then because they just didn't do the research, didn't understand the song that they used in the fucking episode was the original song, and the Rolling Stones was a cover. And they kept really like harping on.
Carole King wrote that song, and the Stones covered it. I didn't realize that. That's fun. Oh, and that was but that wasn't Carole King's version, was it? It was.
The original version is in the episode. It's even if you watch it with captions, it even credits her.
Says it. Nice.
But yeah, it's like
I got to go back and watch Picard season 2 now.
And sometimes I may not understand the thing, and people are like, well, actually, it's the sonar and space thing from Discovery. There's one line that explains that away, and the harshest critics will harp on that like there's no fucking tomorrow. And it's like, no, if you pay attention to that one stupid throwaway line, they do explain it. It's not exactly what you think it is. But the things they should be focused on, like, are the actual spelling errors in the seasons. Like, those make sense. Like, simultation. It's supposed to be simulation. And it's like, really? You can't spell check words, graphics on a screen that are, like, clearly visible? So that's just little things that slip past that I can get. Like, okay, you criticize that. That makes sense. But there's all these things that... Like, if somebody says to me, I don't think Picard is well written. Well, yeah, I can't argue with that. I like a lot of things that I think are well written that I can enjoy. But, like, if Ruben says if it wasn't Star Trek, I just couldn't do it. But with Discovery, I don't know if I would watch that if I wasn't a Star Trek fan. I always have a take it or leave it attitude, but I like the characters more than the show. Isn't that funny? I wouldn't mind seeing the characters go into something else, like see Saru in another show or Burnham in another show, a better show. I don't know. I'm too harsh. Too harsh on Trek. I should just fucking I love it all. Can't do it. There's
Actually, that song is super prophetic about season 3 of Picard because it says the chorus says you'll come running back. So all you haters came running back to Picard. Welcome back.
Do you think we're ever going to get like truly good Star Trek one day?
A truly what?
Like a truly good Star Trek show or movie.
We have so many examples of truly good Star Trek, and we'll continue to.
Am I old? Am I old and out of touch?
Yeah,
I just don't get it.
So is Toddy in my.
I mean,
opinion.
I think that the stuff that we get now, some people put like the older shows up on such a pedestal.
Yeah.
And I love, like, my life revolves around Star Trek. It's kind of like the first thing I think of when I wake up, last thing I think of when I go to bed. When I'm at work at my boring, lame, depressing insurance job, all I'm thinking about is like, oh, when I get off work, I need to watch these episodes and take notes and make this thumbnail and make sure I'm tweeting and Trek Twitter and yeah, it's like the driving part of my life. But even I admit, like, yeah, there's so much I like about the Star Trek franchise, but like there's so much like half-ass episodes of Voyager. There's a lot of like shitty things in TNG that I don't like. It's not it's just because they're like my favorite shows of all time. I don't think they're like the best shows of all time, but all the shows that have had, you know, moments of greatness. And I think it's weird when, you know, when I see, like, I remember people just railed on Voyager and people just railed on Enterprise. And now I see people now and they have such like a nostalgia glasses on where they're like, oh, that stuff was so fucking perfect. And all this stuff now is like so trash in comparison. It's really weird. I promise you, I know you don't believe me, PJ, but I promise you in 20 years, there's going to be people that are saying like, man, fucking Star Trek Discovery was so great. Now people are ruining it with this new bullshit.
Well, yeah, because when you watch something as a kid, you latch onto it differently than when you watch it as an adult. So there's people watching Discovery now as kids; they're blown, having their minds blown.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't deny that the Star Trek audience is dwindling, and in 20 years,
I don't see it dwindling. It's bigger than I've ever seen it. Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Like, it's the biggest I've ever seen Star Trek in my life.
It's
ever.
It's had an uptick in
it's
recent years.
nowhere
It's nowhere
near the biggest
content,
Star Trek's ever been in life.
Yeah,
no,
the biggest was like
Nowhere
94. 1994 was like the biggest.
Are
You can add up all the viewers of all the modern Star Trek shows, and it still doesn't add up to what people were watching in the 90s. Of
Good old 1995.
Honestly, I think that,
like that's just factually true.
I think that, like, I know you guys love to go to the numbers, but we don't know the numbers today. Like, we really don't. We just have estimates. Like, I'm just talking about like what I see in terms of like out in the world, like people talking about Star Trek and like interested in it, and like how many people are just like passionate about it. Like, that's the most I've ever seen. Like, I haven't seen this kind of like excitement for Star Trek.
I view it as
in a long time.
There are more fans in any long-lasting franchise as it goes by default. Like, for example, you have
not necessarily. You think there's more fans of the Monsters today than there were 60 years ago, and why they're making a fucking Monsters movie? That's not actually.
Like, where's the Monsters? Like, Star Trek's around. Star Trek's on.
Monsters. I'm talking about Star Trek, Star Wars.
Yeah, and I'm talking about franchises.
Long-lasting franchises that have been popular for decades. The Monsters. Like, I mean, after the show, they did the movie, theatrical movie, and then they did like the occasional TV thing. Then it got rebooted 2 or 3 times, and like nobody cared for like about.
And so the audience dwindles even as the franchise continues. You see, just because the franchise is continuing doesn't mean the audience is also getting bigger.
But it didn't continue with any. It didn't.
If
the Monsters was a sustainable franchise that was going to last throughout its entire run, there would have always been a TV show and always been a movie, but it's been scatterbrained, kind of like Gilligan's Island and the stupid movies that they did after that with Love Boat, and they did just like TV movies or whatever. It's one of those things where you can milk it for all it's worth for as long as you can until like nobody gives a fuck anymore. It's what they did with Baywatch.
What they do to all franchises.
I would also argue that
but my point is, the more popular, like the big ones like Star Trek, Star Wars. Star Wars is the fucking. You could argue is the biggest one. It's just it's the amount of content that's been released over the years. Yes, fans do die off. Like the original fans get old and die off. But there's so many people in those decades who have been born and grew up with it just by default. Their population growth. There are more, and if there wasn't, then they wouldn't be making any of it. Like this. They said, what's the point of making 5 Star Trek shows and all of these Marvel movies or Star Wars movies if it was truly dwindling? The fact is, I think, you have more people just saying, this fucking sucks. That's all it is.
Because you're looking
more at vocal people who are actually watching it too, right?
TV shows don't need 10 million people watching them anymore. You only need a solid fan base. So if you have 1 million people watching a TV show, which is probably what Star Trek is at now, maybe 2 million. That's a strong TV show in modern times. But that's not really a franchise that's growing bigger.
I would argue that it's not improving in quality. It's a bit stagnant in the mediocre department. I don't think I don't think modern Trek is like moving toward like more enlightened or more. They tend to lean on nostalgia way too much. They talk way too fucking much about Khan. If I hear one more thing about Khan this or Khan that, I'm going to lose my fucking mind because they milk that content for all it's worth.
The content?
the contents, yeah, the
Content.
content.
The I like what Larry Nemechek calls that like that group. It's the very loud 10%, you know, and that's the thing is that like I think in like you can't really judge what's going on from like just 10% of people.
That's the weird thing with streaming now. Like, you really don't know what. Like, Netflix will come out and say, well, fucking Stranger Things season 4 was the most, broke the records or whatever. It's like, I have no content. Like, I have no concept of what that means. Like, there's no numbers that the streaming people release, and it's almost like a different game. It's not like Nielsen ratings where it's like 50 share or whatever the fuck. Stuff I don't understand.
I guess the barometer that I use is like if Star Trek's audience is dwindling, then they're paying more to make it successful because like this year they had this gigantic thing over Comic-Con, like a huge gigantic poster, like all that stuff costs money like in marketing, and if they have that funding, it means they're getting paid like
Well, yeah, that's
somewhere.
one of the
Right. They
one of
have the
most
base
watched.
of people that watches it.
Well, yeah, then that's great. Then Star Wars is doing fucking great because I don't
And
remember
that's why
like
the
this
shows
stuff,
are slowly
like,
getting lower and lower budget. If you're actually paying attention to these shows, they're getting lower and lower budget as they go
maybe
along.
I'm not noticing because the writing's getting better too at the same time, so the lower budget doesn't really matter as much. I don't know. It still seems high production to me though. Like it doesn't seem like anything was lost. Stranger Worlds is the best looking one of all of them so far.
Yeah.
So you know, like I don't know. I don't see that.
Strange
either.
New World's clear. You can see the budget there. You can see the budget in Discovery too. I mean,
Strange
they're
New Worlds did
expensive
like
fucking
5
shows.
bottle episodes in its first season.
But that's what I'm saying. The writing's getting
They
better.
they
so they're not
literally bought like
relying on
dollar
just, like,
store leaves and
they're
covered the
paying-
Enterprise in it for episode 8 or whatever.
It's
that
the
Elysian
first
episode.
season. You gotta give
Yeah,
them a chance.
Discovery's
wasn't-
first
it
season was the highest budget of all the seasons.
It wasn't bad for a first season of TV. I like 6 out of those 10 episodes.
I'm not talking bad or good. You're saying it looks best and all this stuff. I'm
It
telling
really
you
does though.
that's actually not logically true. If there's a bunch of bottle episodes and plastic leaves hanging from the thing, it looks like episodes transported from the 60s.
There's something in
How
some
you know
parts of
that's
it.
not
There
on
is a lack of
purpose to, like,
establishing
homage
shots,
the
and
60s?
that's a problem that was in Discovery too. It's like I need more context of like outside the ship, which they do, but I mean they don't do enough of. I find Discovery season 1 like the ship porn as to put it, it wasn't that great. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, in season 2, it looks so much clearer, and so they improve in certain ways. But I find visual effects, especially in TV shows, and especially in situations where they're in space or there's a lot of light refraction and all this, the CG is so over rendered with the dust and the dirt and the camera fucking fuzz, and it tends to be over rendered to a point where it looks like a painting. It doesn't look photorealistic. There are some shots in Strange New Worlds that look not great and phony, and then there are other shots like in the last episode in particular, when they're going behind the comet and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, that looks almost like a model. Like it looks totally
the space
photorealistic
station
in some
thing,
shots, right?
Special effects in general are pretty inconsistent these
Yeah, I
days
know, it's
because
weird.
just a lot of the effects houses are a lot of turmoil right now. So it's kind of like you get whatever the lowest bidder gives you, and
That's been something that's been coming to light about the overwork. Like Marvel in particular has gotten a bad reputation for just like fucking do it, change it, do it. We won't pay you enough. It's like overworked and underpaid, and they're the people that are literally bringing the magic. You know, they're it's painstaking work. It's not fucking.
Well,
People think it's like click of a mouse, easy shit, but it's not.
the reason why that happens is because all of these CGI effects people, all these companies just popped up within the last 30 years, and they're not unionized like a lot of the older Hollywood trades are. So they're dealing with extremely terrible labor conditions.
Yeah,
And
it
they're
just
and
came
they're
to light
bid. They're
that,
underselling. They're underselling themselves to get the bid for the movie.
Mhm.
So they're almost sacrificing a portion of their fucking income and fucking mental health almost.
it just
to-
came to light that
yeah.
most actors don't get residuals from streaming. Like there's no package like that where so like a lot of actors, they just can't afford to like you know, like they can't afford to like take the roles they really want, or like go do something else like theater for a little while. Like
I've
so.
heard that I've heard that a lot of actors don't even fucking know how well their shows do on streaming. So therefore it's like this kind of
Oh
secret.
yeah,
It's like keeping the information not only from the public, I think the main reason is to keep it from the actors.
interesting.
Because it's like, oh well, fuck, if you only knew and you'd want some more money. I think Stranger Things is like an exception to that because it's so popular. I mean, I think those actors could be like, yeah, let's negotiate or something, but I mean, they're ending that next season anyway, so.
Maybe actors do
But as
see those
popular as that show
numbers.
is, are they going to get residuals from that? No, it seems it's like not a thing like anymore. Like where an actor can get a check fucking 30 years down the line from reruns of
I
fucking
mean, the
whatever.
numbers have to be. I mean, like I'm sure the numbers somehow are recorded. Like an IT person could probably leak them or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I think they do show the actors, but I think everyone. I think that's what's disappointing is when you don't get residuals when you find out like your show's a hit. Like you signed the wrong contract.
It would make sense for them not to show actors a lot of times if like
Yeah.
if you be able to negotiate. But actors have a good idea of how
How their shows are
well
doing.
their
If they're
shows are
paying
doing, I
attention at
think.
least. Yeah.
But like I know like there's no way to verify a lot of this stuff, but yeah, I just assume that everyone understands that, whenever we hear, someone say like, "Oh, well, so many people streamed this or so many people streamed that." It's like, yeah, it's like the streaming company is making the claim that this happened. I don't get all up in arms about like oh like we should know, we should have it be transparent somehow. I think a lot of times, yeah, I just assume they're telling the truth. Like when they say things like, especially when they're not giving like specific numbers and they keep it kind of vague. I totally believe them when they say like Discovery is like their top streamed show because yeah, that does seem to be the one that generates the most attention. I know
Well,
like when I put
on
out
the
this,
whole of Paramount Plus,
yeah, um,
really, not NCIS or fucking Yellowstone or.
Disco baby burn.
well, Yellowstone hasn't come home to Paramount Plus yet in the
Oh
States.
yeah, it is on Amazon Prime in Canada too, but the
Um,
1888 or whatever
It's
this.
on Peacock in the States. It'll get there eventually, and that'll probably. I mean that could easily become their top show. Um,
I know Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe was it seemed to be popular. Mike Judge even might bring back King of the Hill,
oh,
but that
that'd be
would
cool
probably
if they
be
did
on
that.
Hulu.
Oh yeah, because yeah, Disney's gonna own that probably because
By
of
the way,
Fox.
I don't like the show Bob's Burgers. In fact, don't like it at all. I watched the first season and I was like, I'm done with this
Yeah, it
fucking
didn't look
weird
good to
show.
me either.
The movie is fantastic. The movie's not only funnier and just more quippier than the show is. It's the show dialed up to like 11, say,
Mm.
but the animation is just so fucking beautiful.
It looks good in the trailer.
It looks smoother and bouncier, and it's that kind of precise, really good animation that just keeps your attention, and it works so well with comedy. It's one of the examples of a TV show that like I'm not all that interested, but I usually will watch the movie version of it to see. Like Teen Titans, go to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Can't stand the show.
I went and
Irritating
saw
as
that.
fuck. The movie is great. Isn't that weird?
Are you gonna see the DC Super Pets movie that came out today?
No, I'd rather not. No.
I want to go see it. That's another one I'll have to go see by myself. Ain't no one gonna go see that shit with me.
I
know
do
that.
hear it's surprisingly good, more than you would think. But I saw the trailer and there was a 30-second pee joke, and I was like, no thanks. Yeah, I don't know about
I do have a
animated.
preemptive critique for Star Trek Picard season 3 and Terry Metalis.
What?
Like I'm watching while you guys have been talking, I wanted to see that song by Carole King, and I'm watching like episode 1 of the first season. There's like such good chemistry between the new cast. I'm just like heartbroken that like they couldn't figure out a way to fit them all in, if indeed it is true. and bring them all in. And so I kind of feel like a little bit of like sadness about that. So, yeah.
It didn't work. They weren't working in season 1. They weren't working
They
in
were
season
working
2.
great
It's
for
like
me.
it's. I know.
I
It's
wanted
sad,
to
I
see
know.
more. I'm like super into Captain Rios. I mean, like I don't like I don't hate the decision that he stayed in the past.
They
and lived out
telegraphed
life or
that from
anything like that.
episode fucking 3.
Yeah,
Like,
it was like very obvious that was going to happen, but also at the same time to hear that the Stargazer's not going to be back, it's just kind of like, what are you doing? Like,
Who said the
you know,
Stargazer's not coming back?
that's what I'm hearing, just a rumor.
Who said
I'm
that?
just responding to rumors.
Well,
Someone said
where,
it like
where did you
on
hear
a
the
stream we
rumor?
were on. I don't know. Someone said it.
Well, you're
And they made
causing
it sound
rumors by like
authentic.
repeating that.
I'm just saying that's
Just
what
say
I
it.
heard.
Just if you don't have like a source, just
my assumption would be maybe it's there, but not that much, because there's probably going to be a lot more to focus on. There might
Yeah.
be
Everything
other.
I'm talking about is I don't
they
have a
built
source for.
They built
like,
multiple
when I have a
ship
source,
sets.
I name
You know
it.
what I mean?
When I don't have a source, it's just speculation. Sorry, go on.
We know for a
okay.
fact
So,
that
so you're speculating the Stargazer's not going to be in
Based
the
on
season.
what I heard, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
If you need the technicality.
I want to
there
see
you
a
have it.
Klingon bridge. I want to see DS9. Apparently, it's going to be just lots of ship sets. But who knows? I don't know.
It's going to be ships out the ass.
Anyways, we know that apparently the cast is not coming back. Those guys, and I'm upset about it. I like
Allison
them. It would've
Pill
been cool
might
to
be in
see-
it some.
Yeah,
Because
No,
her
I think
exact
she.
words.
I think she killed her career with that Pat Benatar shtick. Running in the shadows.
The other thing is like how cool. Someone tweeted this like how
Fuck
cool would it have
off.
been
Oh
if
my
like
God.
Soji
You're such a good
met-
actress. What are you doing?
Soji met Data's actual daughter met like the crew, like like they would have been chuffed. They would have been like, wow, like his dream came true. Like he had a daughter somehow, and like she's like,
Wouldn't it be
know.
hilarious? They don't even mention her in season 3.
Yeah,
she's
that's
already
what
met half of them.
yeah, 3 people out of I guess
Yeah.
7.
3 out of
right?
6 is
6.
half.
Yeah, 7 because 7 I count Data.
So it kind of would have just been like watching all that Nepenthe stuff over again. So I'm actually like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. They don't need to show that in season 3 because we kind of already showed that in season 1.
So is Brent Spiner playing lore or not?
Nah, if you listen to like that announcement trailer from when did they show that? Back in
A few months ago.
April? Yeah, it was on First Contact Day, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
so if you go back to April and watch that announcement trailer that told us that all the actors were coming back, you hear the voice of his character, and it does not sound like Data or Lore. It sounds like a old human. So
What does he say?
I don't remember the exact dialogue, but just like the tone of voice he's speaking in.
Now I have to go listen to it.
It would be probably a little too expensive to do lore anyway. You know, just like
maybe
face replacement thing, the whole
maybe
thing.
for just a little bit. But I mean, like Lore, like we know what happened to Lore. Like he got like disassembled. So
Yeah.
I don't need to see more Lore. I feel like Lore's story ended.
So what would Brent like? I'm a little sick of Brent Spiner playing the same type of human character. Like he Alton soon in season 1, and then the other guy in season 2. It's like, yeah, okay, taking me out of it now.
Let's
Like,
get ready for the next one in season 3.
I honestly wouldn't mind if Brent Spiner wasn't there at all. I'm not saying I don't want him there. I'm just saying if you're gonna do an old human character again, why? What is it? Unless he's playing Alton, like why doesn't he just play Alton? And the crew's like, oh, you look like the human version of Data, like what Picard said to him in season 1.
Yeah,
Like just have it be that.
maybe he'll be Alton, but didn't seem like it in that announcement trailer. But I could be wrong. It definitely wasn't Lore, possibly Alton.
He says evolution is not an act of preservation, it's addition. So he's probably Alton. No, they said a new Soong, or no, maybe it could be Alton.
They haven't said. They just said that it won't be Data.
Some folks are speculating that Alton Inigo Soong is Lore because AI.
I thought that back in season 1. I was like, what if
So
this
did
guy
I.
is actually Lore?
Hmm.
I thought that for 1 week, and then we got like the next episode, and I was like, oh, I guess he's actually human. It's interesting that the Soongs, the younger they get, the less of an asshole they are. Like Alton actually seems like an all right dude. You know, he gave Picard Gollum body and everything. But like if you like go
That's something
further
Lore
and
would do,
further
then.
back, like Arik Soong in the 22nd century, he was a dick. And then the Soong from Picard season 2, he was like the worst of the worst. He was trying to run over 90-year-old men with his car and shit. John Delancey told me I have to drive over Picard, so I'm gonna go hit him with my Tesla.
It was rather mean.
What happened? What happened? I went away for a second.
When sorry, that Soong goes and runs him
We
over.
were talking about the Soong hit and run from
Oh my god.
Picard season 2.
Less said about that fucking show. It's funny how your dreams can be crushed. So, anywho, no. At least
There's a
Lower
lot of
Decks.
stuff I liked in
I can't wait for Lower Decks. That's good.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Lower Decks.
And Prodigy as well. I mean, Jesus, that's some exciting stuff coming up in the second half. That's really time. That must be the most time-consuming show of them all.
It is.
Yeah.
Check
Benny
out
Bond talked about it.
Yeah, check out Aaron's interview on Trek Movies All Access podcast. It sounds like part of the reason why we're waiting so long on more Prodigy is it's taking them longer to animate than they originally suspected. So I think it's weird that we haven't seen more. Sohel and I saw a clip back in Chicago. We saw a clip from the next batch of episodes
that they haven't shown yet, which is interesting.
So
we're still bound by our promise.
We're allowed to talk about that. We weren't allowed to record it.
Oh, we could say
when
like
it's all said and done, it's
clip.
basically almost 10 hours of a season, all animated like that. Lower Decks would be like half of that. That's
yeah. I mean, Lower Decks that takes they have a pretty good routine. Takes them about 53 weeks to turn around a new season. So Mike McMahon actually seems like pretty organized and good at running a show, and he seems like a cool dude to work for, which is kind of cool. Just it sounds so many of the like these cool creatives that make like good stuff I like actually sound like they're fucking assholes. So I like hearing that everyone always has like such good stuff to say about Mike McMahon, and he's always talking about how like he doesn't like to keep his writers working late, and during COVID he was worried about like everyone being able to work safely, and he seems like a cool guy.
What was that video on TikTok or something with Tawny Newsome that you're reacting to? Was she talking about you or no?
No.
Okay.
She's talking about a photographer at Comic-Con.
I thought you were the photographer. I was like, oh.
She was doing the sassy Mariner Vulcan salute, and a photographer he was like, "You're doing the Vulcan salute wrong."
That's on TikTok. That's a reaction or a duet video. And so
that was an episode of Deep Space Nine.
So
I don't understand all you young folks.
She actually liked it on TikTok, by the way, which I was so chuffed about that I took a screenshot. And for a moment, I never do this, but for a moment I thought about tweeting and being like, "Oh my god, Tawny Newsome liked my TikTok," but I decided against it. Because if I do it for Tawny Newsome, I have to do it for all the celebrities that like my shit, and I'm not going to do that.
What? You lost me. You talk too fast.
Who's watched the latest season of The Boys?
I've never seen a single episode of The Boys. I haven't started it yet.
What fantastic! That's how you make a show.
Surprising.
That's how you do a show.
Earlier when
you build characters and story.
Earlier when you were doing an impression of Chris Hemsworth, it actually just sounded like your impression of Butcher.
Billy Butcher.
Urban.
Yeah, Carl, but specifically Butcher.
You do look like my little brother.
I think I'm more like I like comic books more than TV shows, so I'm more likely to read the Garth Ennis comic than watch the show. But maybe I'll watch the show at some point.
I think you should watch the show because Carl Urban.
E.T.'s coming back. Are they gonna put back penis breath?
What?
And,
What?
Wait. Just stop. What?
E.T.'s coming back to theaters like for the anniversary.
Oh fuck!
Do
I thought
you
you meant
think
they were
they're
gonna
gonna
make a new
put
one.
it? They're gonna. Do you think they're gonna? Because they took out penis breath, which is
40 years.
iconic. I don't know why they did
Yeah,
that.
me and my
then
sister used to call each other penis breath all
Yeah.
the time.
And then they took out the guns at the end and put walkie-talkies.
Oh,
So
you're talking about like when they did that 2002 special
Yeah.
edition.
That's been
remaster
erased from
thing.
existence.
Yeah,
on
they've
any stream.
they
They have.
they
undid
did it back.
the-
They okay.
Unlike George Lucas, Steven Spielberg was actually convinced that was a terrible fucking thing, and he apologized.
Okay, so the version I'm gonna go see in the theaters will be the correct, the proper version.
You know, a funny thing about that, Trey Parker and Matt Stone made fun of that in an episode of South Park, and they showed like Spielberg and Lucas were gonna go like special edition Raiders of the Lost Ark and ruin it, because there were talks of like doing a special edition and like adding new special effects and stuff into Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Steven Spielberg saw that episode and he wrote a letter to Trey Parker or Matt Stone, just talking to them about he'd seen the episode, and he didn't really say like if he was mad or if he liked it or anything, but Raiders of the Lost Ark special edition did not happen. And Trey Parker and Matt Stone said, like, I mean, there's no way to know if they actually are the ones that like convinced Spielberg not to do that. But they said, like, if that's true, if they stopped that from happening, they are more proud of that than anything else they've accomplished in their career.
Wow.
I don't understand going back and change it, like, or censoring or fucking with a movie, because
like adding like more like CGI arrows going at. I mean, like kind of how Lucas did the Star Wars movies.
I would have
I
watched
can understand it to a degree.
Like Adventures in Babysitting. It's a PG movie, and it has a couple of instances of don't fuck with the babysitter, don't fuck with. It's said a couple of times. And I censor that part. I'm like, you censor the best part of the fucking...
Yeah,
like
that's crazy.
the one with the most heightened emotion in the whole fucking thing, and it's like, bleep, like it's not even... You can't
That
hear
is weird. So they didn't
Stupid.
unfix that one?
No, on Disney Plus it remains as is. Like with the censor. There's also another...
that's
Anthony Rapp's in
annoying.
that movie too.
Yeah, he is.
In Splash, PG movie.
I love that movie.
Daryl Hannah's ass.
Yeah,
Can't
why
see
would
that.
you cover that with like fake CG hair? That's crazy.
Disney is the worst at changing things or deleting things. Like they took away the Michael Jackson episode of The Simpsons.
Oh yeah, and they changed that line in Aladdin, but that I think was not such a.
What
bad
was the
thing.
line in Aladdin?
The original line was where they'll cut off your hands if they don't like your face or something like that. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. And then they changed it to, but it's mad and intense, and the heat is immense, or something like weird like that.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so because a lot of, and I kind of get that, because it is kind of highlighting a negative stereotype, even though there might be a little bit of.
But it's like censoring the past. It's like people should be taught at least to discern.
They pulled a
what they're
Lizzo
watching
in a
and
way.
when it was, in what time it was made and in what context, and that things that are not okay.
And the Aladdin thing happened like right away, because I have the soundtrack that came out before the movie was released.
When it was in theaters, you mean? It was that line, and then
it was that line,
went to video.
and then for the video release they changed it, so they changed
that
it
quick.
like
Okay,
that quick. Yeah, it was like, and then so
That
I
is
actually have
that is
the
a bit harsh
soundtrack
though. That line
you can't find. Yeah, it is pretty harsh. So it is. I think it's a little too much. It's dubious is the right word.
You know what it would be like? It would be like in the movie Beetlejuice, where he says "nice fucking model." That as a kid, I was like, "Oh my god!" I thought this was a kids movie, and he says "fucking." And
I
then
loved that as a kid.
it's like if they stream that now, and then they just took that out because it's PG, so you can't even have the F word in it once. So, but you could get away with. You could get away.
PG, like
Mm-hmm.
back then.
You could get away with the F word in Adventures in Babysitting. I think was probably PG-13, but I think it's PG now. If you look it up on the, hold on, let me just check.
The ratings
it's weird though, because
they don't tend to change the ratings unless they get a new theatrical release.
Wait, so like a PG movie where you could say fuck before, now you can't say it? Is that the thing, or it's just Disney standards have gotten like stricter?
Well, no, the rating
PG
system goes through the MPAA, so Disney wouldn't have anything to do with that.
They're flimsy. There's a movie called This Film Is Not Yet Rated. It's a documentary about how fucking just convoluted and insane it is. Like how a movie with no violence, almost no swearing, and one sex scene where even not even genitals are visible, but like somebody's pubic hair in a shot. There was one particular movie like that where it's like, oh, NC-17. You have barely anything offensive or anything like that, but somebody's pubes.
Or a female orgasm's an automatic rated R, but a male orgasm can be PG-13.
Oh, weird.
Or at least that was the rules back then. I don't know if they've changed it, but yeah, it's a very weird group that was doing all these ratings. And speaking of Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they show up in there. And they talk about, I guess it might have been like Orgasmo, the movie they made about the Mormon who becomes a porn star. But
I actually saw that movie.
where they were doing like a small independent project. They got like an NC-17 rating, which, we can't have a nationwide theatrical release. We can't make money. We can't show people this movie. So what do we need to do? And they're like, well, we can't tell you. You just have to go in and fix it yourself. But a few years later, they're making South Park bigger, longer, uncut for Paramount. They're big giant corporation, Paramount Pictures, releasing or distributing this movie for them. And they got an NC-17 at first, but then they got these very specific notes from the MPAA that were like, okay, so you need to shorten the shot of Saddam Hussein's penis here. You need to delete exactly 13 F-bombs. You need to make this like a little less violent, maybe have like a little bit less blood on screen at this one moment. Very, very, very specific details like that when they were working for a big corporation.
Do you remember what they did to Back to the Future too?
Back to the Future. Was it something with his mom's tits?
No, it's the ooh la la scene. It's where he's trying to get the magazine.
Yeah.
And he sees that it's an ooh la la thing. And there's there's a really hard cut where it like cuts away from any of the skimming through the magazine, which is fucking totally harmless. There's no nudity whatsoever. It's just women in their underwear. And it's like, why? What is the fucking point? And they made that change on Netflix. And the same movie was on Amazon Prime. Same cut. I'm like, on 2 streaming services, you fucking did that? I just checked Amazon Prime. It's back to normal now. I'm just going to check Netflix.
I know sometimes the wrong files get posted.
It's not on Netflix anymore. No, it was the thing that was pointed out that the ooh la la thing was cut because it was racy or something. I'm like, what?
That's why I buy the media that I really like. I'll still buy it on a physical disc.
Remember Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Jessica Rabbit has a one frame where you don't see her underwear. It's like peach colored in between her legs. And if you had the VHS back in the day,
try to pause it on that
shitty pause.
There's a little line, a little streaky white line going across.
You won't see it now though. They fixed it, but
yeah, that was an inside joke the animators put in there because they didn't think people would. Well, I don't know. By 1988 or whenever
I heard
VCRs were a thing, so they should have known.
I heard it was just a time crunch thing, and they just in one cell they forgot to paint it in the panties or whatever the fuck. And we're getting into Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a brilliant movie, and the closest thing that's ever come to it is Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers.
I need to watch that. I want to see it.
It's good for if you grew up with all the 90s stuff.
Yeah.
Late 80s, 90s. Well, Roger Rabbit is in the movie at some point.
Cool.
Peter Pan's in there.
I'm eager to see. I'm glad you reminded me because I had that on my list of things to watch, and I've been so busy, watching all this Deep Space Nine. I've already seen 47 times.
Remember Bonkers?
That was like a cat-looking creature. Didn't he become a cop at some point?
The Bobcat, yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Show sucked. I liked it as a kid, and then I watched it later. I was like,
I think the first few seasons he wasn't a cop, and then to shake it up, he joins the police department or something. Am I
Yes.
remembering that correctly?
Donald Duck is in the first episode. That's all I remember.
Well, you got to have like that big can. It's like Picard's in the first episode of DS9. You know, you got to have like that handoff, I guess. You know, DuckTales was a big show. Everyone liked DuckTales.
They're definitely going to bring that back at some point. Have they? They
They
probably already
did.
did.
Yeah, with
Okay.
David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck.
I'm thinking Darkwing Duck. Shit. Yeah. Okay. I know. What you mean now.
Darkwing will come back at some point too.
The the jacket that Dr. Crusher and like the Dr. Crusher's wearing in the Picard character reveal.
Mm-hmm.
It looks just kind of a lot like the one that Jean-Luc is wearing in episode 1 of Picard when he boards the Stargazer and is walking with 7 of 9. It looks just like that field
It's
jacket.
special old person jacket.
I like Riker's jacket. I want to
Yeah.
buy that. I want to buy that and wear it at conventions. I'm so excited for Vegas. I'm 4 weeks away from Vegas.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know what's an underrated animated movie? Well, 2. Okay. Secret of Nim. Fucking Don Bluth or whatever his name is.
Yeah, that was good.
Great animator. Great animation director, whatever. Okay. Second one is a Goofy movie.
I never
movie's
loved that as
fucking-
much as a lot of people, but it's definitely good.
The part where he's in the car and he finds out his son has drawn a different route on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh, my son is not enjoying his trip with me, and he wants to do his own thing. And he doesn't care about my feelings." I'm like, "Man, that's sad." It's very well animated too, like the animation direction and the cinematography, like the way things are framed and like the wide angles they used in some shots. It's weird.
Yeah, Disney Animation on a a big movie like that, because they got a theatrical release. Disney and Warner Brothers, historically, like they were the best
That's another example
2D animations.
of the movie version of a TV show that's like way better than what the TV show is. X-Files Fight the Future. That's a damn good movie despite the show.
Is that the one with the dog heads? Or am I thinking of the second one?
That's
So-
I want to believe. That's
I want to
one
believe.
of- that's
okay.
easily one of the worst movies of the century so far. I mean,
So
it's
the
fucking
one
bad. It's
the one that
garbage.
came out between seasons 5 and 6. It opens with like the cavemen in Texas.
It's weird because the show was filmed in, I think, Vancouver. It's very
Yeah.
Canadian looking, and like the American cop would come up and like, "Hey, Mulder," and it's like, you sound like some dude from Canada. You know, he's like from New Jersey. It's like, let's go get a Molson, Mulder. Then you had the movie, which they actually filmed on location in Washington D.C., where most of the show was actually set, so it's like a real location. Then when they came back for the show in season 6, it was all in California, and everything looks so hot and muggy. Like, looks like a completely different, feels like a different show altogether.
Yeah, that show was all over the place.
It fell off, certainly.
I still have never watched season 9.
I think I've said this before. You remember 2012, all that shit about the Mayan calendar?
Yeah. I know that's how X-Files ended, but even though I didn't watch that last season.
Do you know that none of that stuff about the Mayan calendar is of any, like, the Mayan calendar certainly exists, and it was a thing, has nothing to do with the December 21st, 2012 thing. That date didn't come from anywhere. And this is a fact. Didn't come from anywhere but that fucking X-Files episode where the smoking man, right before he gets exploded, says, "I'm going to reveal to you, Mulder, the date of the alien invasion, which is December 21st, 2012. Now, then the internet took that, married it with the fucking Mayan calendar, and Terrence McKenna's fucking, this trippy dude named Terrence McKenna who predicted 2012 and that date too. And I think that's where X-Files got it from. You know what I mean? So really, it came from Terrence McKenna, who had this theory about it. So everybody just took some theory mixed with an episode of X-Files.
That Chris
And actually
Carter took and put in X-Files.
Just presumably. And then they made this whole fucking thing about 2012, and so many people bought into it. It's like, what, are you fucking crazy? Like, That was the biggest end of the world thing I think I've ever seen. Like,
I'm heading to
hype.
bed, my friends. Have a
It's the
good
end of the
evening.
stream. Everybody's
Or the
falling asleep.
beginning.
Everybody's falling asleep. I'm falling asleep here.
I was
Joel
just-
says
Oh,
Nim
go ahead.
still holds up.
Nice. That's a
The
good
National Institute of Mental Health still holds up.
It's a smart movie. I like the book even
Yeah,
better.
it was
Mrs.
based
Frisbee
on
and the rat.
on a book. Yeah,
Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. It's basically about mice that are genetically experimented on to the point where they become intelligent, escape their cages, and actually form a society under a farm equipped with like tunnels, electricity. They learn how to utilize electricity, learn how to read. It's fucking fascinating. It's such an underrated gem. The book more so, anyway. Poor little Timothy. All right. All right, guys. I think we've reached the end.
This
This
is
is
the
the-
end.
This is the end, my friend.
No.
Thank you, Joel and Quarks Bar, for sticking around, and other people.
yeah.
And-
Great audience members. Always happy to see y'all.
Yep.
And thank you, Fathery and Sohail and Ruben for joining me.
He was saying goodbye, and then he just like,
Joel.
oh yeah,
Joel wanted us to talk
Joel
about
wanted us to talk about
Sandman.
Sandman. I'll
The
be
Sandman
talking about
is
it.
putting us to sleep.
Yeah, that's true. But I'll be
Mr.
talking about it.
Sandman,
It
bring
starts
me
Monday,
in.
if I'm not mistaken.
That's
And so-
soon.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think so. I think it starts Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Is
Well,
that right?
shit,
Joel?
I was gonna go read the first few issues again, but I guess I need to jump on that.
Savage.
What time
Curtain
is Savage
tomorrow,
Curtain?
Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Sandman is coming August 5th.
Le Curtain Sauvage. I don't know if that's how you say it in French. I forget.
August 5th is Sandman.
So that's Friday, I think.
Oh, okay. Friday. Sorry, my bad.
Or yeah, that's Friday.
And who wrote that? Neil Gaiman? Is
Mhm.
that was that
Yep.
correct?
Yeah, Neil Gaiman, one of the best comic series of all time.
I gotta watch
widely
the trailer
considered.
now. I'm so hyped for it.
So is it about like somebody? What is it about?
The
about the,
Sandman is like
it's
an
about-
incarnate. Yeah, go ahead.
Dream. He's like
Yeah.
the Lord of Dreams.
Yeah,
Like
and
Freddy
they capture
Krueger?
him. They use a
Yes.
spell to capture him, so that they could like use his powers or something like that. I
Yeah,
Is
think.
it like
It's-
it's prime time, bitch?
His sister is Death, and then there's Death, Dream, Delirium,
His cousin
That's
is back
true.
aches.
That's
Destiny. They all begin with a D. But anyways,
This
his
trailer's
sister is
so
cool.
good.
His
Death
father's gout.
Death
You
is
should-
the best character.
Yeah, you should watch the trailer right now.
I did.
Can we
see
watch it while we
I-
end?
Well, you're not gonna play it.
Oh, okay.
I can't. I don't want to get it.
Oh yeah, Netflix will do the thing.
Like we have the power. I did see the trailer. I didn't get it. I just watched it once in a compilation of Comic-Con things.
Oh, gotcha.
Any other trailers from Comic-Con that caught your eye?
Oh, there was I thought the Shazam Fury of the Gods looked good.
Can I comment on that for a second?
Sure.
Okay, this was going to be a problem I saw in the first movie. The kid who plays the young Billy Batson, is that
I'm
who it
getting
is?
too old.
It's just, for one thing, he looks nothing like Zachary Levi. I can dismiss that. But yes, the fact that now he's almost like an actual full-grown man. When he transitions, he's literally like an inch taller. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is weird.
Yeah, they should have cast younger. Nothing
Like
to
a
get
Tom,
against the
not a
actor,
Tom
but-
Holland type, who looks young for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or have done that, or I would have gone.
This dude has like a Stone Cold Steve Austin neck now. It's like weird. I'm exaggerating, but like he doesn't look like a kid.
But the movie looks fun.
Yes, it does.
So that looked cool. I'm curious about Black Adam. What else is on the DC side of stuff? Some TV show stuff maybe. But
Really?
and then I guess Marvel, they had their huge slate.
Mm-hmm.
I did see the leaked Guardians of the Galaxy stuff.
including Frasier, tossed salad and Frasier scrambled eggs. No, did you see those memes where they would do these fake shows that Marvel was releasing? Marvel's Frasier tossed salad and Frasier scrambled eggs. But there is actually a Frasier reunion show happening, isn't there?
It's not been started yet, but they've been talking about it for a while.
All I'll say about Kelsey Grammer is that it was kind of shitty that he came to Star Trek Las Vegas last year, and then like on his panel he talked about like all this work he had done in his life and talked about like everything in his entire career except for Star Trek. But
I was in
the
down
dude seems like
Periscope.
a prick in real life. So
is that what he did? I forgot about that. You told me about that before.
I mean, his role in Trek was just so minimal. I mean,
like
it was
he
a
literally
cameo.
just
talk about it for like 2 minutes. Just say like the thing about like, what was it like? What was that process like? Were you asked to come on the show and just be like, oh yes, well, you see, at the time I was also working on something else with the studio and blah 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 blah, and then like that's it, and then move on to the next thing.
He was on Cheers at the time. I mean, I think Cheers had almost. It might have just ended.
It might have just ended. It's true.
Yeah. But
I'm so sad that we won't get the Stargazer model. I almost said in Picard season 3, but the model we might not get for a while. This is what it looks like when it was next to the Borg. Whoa! Shit.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh no.
then you're not going to be able to get a replacement now.
Fuck. Is it broken?
I actually destroyed it.
Is
Now
it
the
broken?
Stargazer only has 2 nacelles.
We can glue
it
that back
permanently-
together. It can be repaired.
Yeah, it can be repaired.
Is it really broken?
Yeah, you gotta say it. You gotta say it. You gotta
You
say
broke
the
your little
word.
ships.
I broke my little ship. Wow. All right. Well, I got some Gorilla Glue. It's all right.
Yeah,
Aw.
Joel, we'll have to do a Sandman discussion at some point in the future after we've seen the show. I need to go do some reading because I ain't read that shit in so damn long.
He says that's why the Stargazer isn't coming back.
Yeah,
Look, it actually snapped back together.
well,
That's
there you
cool.
go.
at
Utopia Planitia making the sturdiest ships.
It's true. You guys, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 torpedo bays just by the nacelles. And then there's this weird... There's a lot of weaponry.
Fire
There's
torpedoes.
4, 5, there's 6, possibly 7 torpedo bays. What kind of a ship is...
I've got to get to
what
the launcher.
kind of ship? The Dark Secret. What kind of ship
What are
was
some
the
of your favorite
Stargazer?
Picard lines?
Was it a battle cruiser? An experimental battle cruiser? My favorite Picard line ever?
I don't know, some of
Mine
them.
is his first duty speech to Wesley.
Yeah, that's a tough one to beat.
I like these weird off things he says that don't mean anything.
I like the one where he quotes Shakespeare back at Q and he says, "Oh, I know Shakespeare, and what he might say, ironically, I say with whatever, like, genuine."
Yeah, what he said in jest, I say
say
with sincerity or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Nobody here has played with ships and bottles. It's like it's the 24th century, dude.
I did, sir. O'Brien. I mean,
I
kiss
did,
ass.
sir. The one Irishman. Isn't that stereotypical?
He's like, well, of course, on your backwards island, you didn't have anything better to do. I am a sophisticated Franco-Brit. What?
But
I did like that in season 2 of Picard. They had the little explanation of the English accent.
I love in Generations when he says to Kirk when they're fighting Soren. He's like, "I've got to get to the launcher." The way he says launcher. He says it
They
like
were
that.
good together. I give that movie a lot of shit, but I really liked. I was so sad the other day. I put on Paramount Plus. There's like this movie channel that just plays movies. Like, you can't like pause it, but you can just like watch movie after movie, whatever they have on their live TV movie channel. And they were just having me playing like the Star Trek TNG movies, and I caught like half of Generations. Then I went into First Contact, Insurrection, Nemesis. Just have some background noise on. But I was watching Generation, and there's the Kirk and Picard stuff, and the Nexus. I was thinking like, I've always thought they had like really good chemistry, but I was like, there's some fun stuff in this movie that I'm kind of dismissive of, and it made me sad I couldn't reach out to our friend Trekkie Dave, who loved that movie and defended it passionately. Sadly passed away
Yeah, he did
from
pass away.
brain tumors back in I think May. But yeah, it just made me sad. I couldn't reach out to him and be like, I was watching Generations today, and it really isn't that bad.
That's something for you to say because you hate that movie.
Well, I don't hate it, but it's my least favorite Star Trek movie.
I like it far less than when I was a kid. I was just like blinders. It's like it's TNG the movie, and like until then First Contact came along. I'm like fucking Generations what? But Soren did say, "Get away from that launcher." He did say that.
Yeah, that's
I
what he
just
said.
say that. Yeah.
You know what? It's a connection I made today in Star Trek is Malcolm McDowell tries to blow up a sun with trilithium, right? And then one of the episodes of DS9 Dave and I covered today on our show was by Inferno's Light. And that's the when the Dominion come through the wormhole and they team up with Dukat. And the changeling Bashir tries to blow up the Bajoran sun. But he's using a weapon, and some of the components in it are not just proto matter, but also trilithium. So not only did Malcolm McDowell play a character blowing up a sun trying to blow up a sun with trilithium, but his nephew also plays a character trying to blow up a sun with trilithium.
Interesting.
That's wild.
There's Paramount Plus, right? You can when you look. It's weird because I'm looking at it through Prime right now. And for whatever reason, anything that you're looking at through Prime that's not Prime itself doesn't tell you the resolution of anything. It's just everything's HD and that's it, no matter what it is. And the proper app says that everything is 4K. So I'm like, fuck, they don't know what they're talking about. And then I looked at Apple Plus just to see, and that's the only way you see what is in HD and what is in 4K. For example, the director's cut of motion picture HD. However, the regular theatrical cut is in 4K plus Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, and Voyage Home. But then I'm like, oh, do they have the 4K version of First Contact? No, it's HD, and it's like almost everything new, like all their new South Park or Beavis and Butthead stuff, all that's 4K. And all the new movies, but it's weird how like when you view it through certain things, it won't tell you. Like you can see, like when I watched Voyage Home through Prime, I'm like, this looks fucking immaculate. This has to be the 4K version. Then I checked on Apple Plus, which I might actually view it through there now because it might be actually a better quality. Anyway, we gotta go. I want to thank you guys for being here again. And hopefully we can do this. You doing After Dark today? No.
No, After Dark will return in 2 weeks with possibly Larry Nemechek joining us for the premiere episode. Yeah.
Well, he stays up late, so that's perfect for him.
Yeah, and it'll be earlier over there. So
this is like a little After Dark filler. Yeah, this is a good time.
But After Dark won't return on Friday, so you might want to keep doing your streams. It's coming back on Saturdays.
Right on.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's go. What did you think of the Scotty cameo in Strange New Worlds? I think it was cheap. It was like,
I loved it.
schlocky.
I mean, he was the engineer at the time, and I didn't think they were going to cast someone for 5 seconds. So when I saw that, I was like, oh well, there's no way Scotty is going to be a character in the show in season 2, or else they would have ADR'd this voice with whoever they cast, and it wouldn't have just been like this rando British voice actor.
Yeah, and to end it off on a good note, I mean, they talk about season 2 being like a lot more fucking dynamic. Aside from that crossover episode, which is interesting, but I'm worried about it. I know they're going to do like TOS kind of redux eventually, but as long as it's good, I mean, I don't really. But I like the cast, though. I like Anson Mount and all those people. So looking forward to Lower Decks anyway. That's going to be back. I want to look forward to you guys talking about it in your streams and stuff. But I'm going on too long. I'm going to end it right here. Outro. See ya.
Father's yawning. We're still alive.
Yeah, I'm
Hilarious.
sleepy.